Welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village Town of Mount Kisco for June 1st, 2026. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just remain standing for a moment so we may reflect on why we're here. Ask for guidance in the decisions we make here this evening. They may benefit all the people of the village of Mount Kisco. I'll also ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers. There's nobody from the village, but the tragic fire in Cortlandt Manor, where 2 teenage children died in the fire. The mother and another son were injured while the father was working as a correction officer. Is devastating. You cannot imagine the pain and suffering. I can't imagine it anyway, that family's going through. The Cortlandt Manor community has rallied behind the family, but it's something that I doubt if they'll overcome. So all we have is prayers and thinking about what they're going through. Thank you. Okay, on the agenda this evening, the first item is communications, and we have a request from Betor, the synagogue on Smith Avenue, for a Taslich service to be performed Sunday, September 13th, 2026, in near the water behind, right here behind Village Hall. Is there a motion? I don't think I have to get into the nuances, and the only thing in the motion I'd like to include, they're indicating they'd like to pay for police services. If we have the manpower available, I'd like to, as we've done with other entities, provide that service free of charge for the escort.
Sir.
So I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
On the question? Mr. Brancotti?
Mayor Sendrich.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Schleimer.
Aye.
Trustee Bryant.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Luzio.
The next request is from the Captain Merritt's Hill community for a block party on Saturday, September 19th, 2026. If the, do you have that one? This is signed by Alice DeBone, a resident of Captain Merritt's Hill. A neighborhood respectfully requests permission to hold our annual block party on Saturday, September 19th. The time is from 3:30 to 7:30. Rain date the following Sunday, September 20th, from 2 to 6. The event will be on Willits Road. It is our intent to request to block off the Willits Road at Emory during the event. We also request a special refuse pickup and barricades be left at the corner of Willits and Emory on the 18th of September. And they're grateful for the assistance that the village has given them over the years, and it's signed by Alice DeBone. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it, but I want to point out that that is, I believe, Septemberfest, and I don't know if the organizers were aware of that, and whether they might want to rethink that.
I think they had it last year during Septemberfest too.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that.
But when we call Alice, just mention it to her.
Yes, sir.
So this would be with the normal requirements.
Mm-hmm.
On the question, Mr. Brancotti?
Trustee Luzio.
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Bryant.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Mayor Sendrich.
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the village manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. First, we have a personnel update, so I want to just introduce a few new employees that we have here this evening. Natalia, if you want to come up, Yvonne, if you want to come up as well. So, want to introduce new employee and returning employee to the building department for the village. So Natalia Mara is here immediately to my left. Started a couple of months ago with us. We had some scheduling issues and weren't able to get the meetings worked out, but we wanted to introduce her. She is the building department secretary, and so is the smiling face that people see when they first walk into the building department. Natalia came to us. She was a teller for Wells Fargo prior to being here, and has also worked as a bookkeeper for a contracting business, so certainly familiar with contractors, and has been doing a great job for us in the building department. So we're excited to have her. She's been doing great, and we're excited that she's continuing to be part of the building department downstairs. Also, we have Yvonne Enriquez coming back to us, was with us. We hired her, was with us for over a year, left, but is back, and we're happy to have her back. So Yvonne is resuming duties and helping Natalia and Debbie and Donna with all of the clerical work that happens in the building department to keep all of the permits and inspections and the workflows moving smoothly and efficiently. So, thanks.
Thank you.
You're all set. I don't know if you want to get to new business, or if you want to take that action now, or you want to wait until we get there, as we have.
Under new business, we have a board appointment for the building inspector. That appointment belongs to the village board. For several months now, we've gone through a number of applications, and we did background checks, qualifications, and for me anyway, I kept falling back on a previous person that was here in the village for six or more years, and that's William C. Mueller. Bill, I'm going to welcome you back. I'm going to make the motion to appoint you. So besides his qualifications and certifications as building inspector, he studied architecture. He's done plans for the village for me personally that I requested for a ball field or two ball fields, two iterations when we were going through some renovation work in Leonard Park. He's more than qualified, and I'm grateful that he's back, and we have a lot of work to do. So along welcoming back Yvonne, I'm sure there are people that are unhappy where you guys were, but I'm personally looking forward to working with you both, as I'm looking forward to looking for you. And I have to comment, your youthful appearance is exceptional for this village. So it's welcome to all three of you. So is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
On the question?
Mayor Sindrich,
Aye.
Trustee Luzio,
Aye.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Trustee Bryant,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Schleimer.
Aye.
William Siegmuller, new building inspector for the village town of Mount Kisco. Would you like to say anything?
Sure.
Very good.
Never at a loss.
Thank you, everyone. Deja vu all over again, coming back. I do like this town. I love this town a lot. Everybody here has been very instrumental in my career, and I've just learned so much here. And I'm proud to be following in the footsteps of Peter Miley, who's just, the guy is, he's amazing. He's intelligent, just very helpful, just a great guy. And thank you for the opportunity. And these two, they're awesome, and don't be fooled by Natalia's youthful looks. She is a pit bull. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Can we get a picture maybe with?
Can we get a picture with all three?
Sure. Was that? All right, so we also want to, before we get into the water quality report, want to remind folks the 2026 village tax bills are due on or before Tuesday, June 30th. You can pay your village taxes online by going to our website, mountkiscony.gov, in person here at Village Hall, 104 Main Street, or directly to the lockbox. If you have any questions, you can contact Joanne Saratani, our receiver of taxes, at 864-0034, or stop by the office. Hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Next, we want to, the 2025 annual drinking water quality report has been completed, is being mailed out, and so everyone will be receiving that in the mail for all of the, it goes to the same address as the billing address in the system. We, for the folks that live in the co-ops and condos, that is one account. We do have extras that are provided to the we provide to the property managers to distribute and share with residents. It's also, we post it on the village website, so people can always access it there as well. But we wanted to share with everybody here sort of the results of that. So we can go on to the next one, Ken. So the annual drinking water quality report is required by the state of New York, and we are proud to report that for 2025, the drinking water provided by the village met all state and federal drinking water health standards and did not violate any maximum contaminant level or water quality standard, which are set by the state. We go to the next one. The primary water source for the village is the Byram Lake Reservoir on Byram Lake Road, the towns of Bedford and North Castle, and is pumped to our state-of-the-art Byram Lake filtration plant, where it is disinfected, treated, filtered before entering the system. We also supplement that supply with our Leonard Park wells, where the water is disinfected, aerated, and treated before it enters the system. Both of them are operated for the village by contract with Veolia. We go to the next one. So some of the facts, there are, the system serves approximately 11,000 customers through 2,400 connections. Total amount of water produced for 2025 was approximately 505 million gallons, with approximately 92% of that coming from the reservoir, the remaining 8% coming from the wells. Daily average of water produced and sent into the system was approximately 1.384 million gallons. 65% billed directly to customers, the balance due to hydrant flushing, firefighting activities, system leaks, and unauthorized use. The annual average annual water charge was approximately $775.84. It's based on an average household water usage of 9,831 cubic feet of water. We can get into some of the sampling results, and I apologize, it's as big as we can make it, but the report everyone will get and be able to see. So there's a number of different regulated substances, and what you'll see is in the left column, the substance, the unit of measurement, whether it's parts per million, billion, or trillion, the date the sample was taken, was there a violation, yes or no, the level that it was detected in both the reservoir or the wells or in the system, it will clarify. And then when you see the column MCL, that's the maximum contaminant limit or the maximum contaminant limit goal. So again, so you see these first two, barium and nitrate, well below the limits of 2 and 1. Our numbers were well below, 0.045, a 0.05, but again, well below the limits. We then have disinfection byproducts, which are just a function of the filtration. So those samples are taken, and there's a running average on those. There's some notes with some of these you'll see in the report. But so we show the highest value of the locational running average, and that's reported here. But again, well below the limits for those two substances. Next we get in, we can go to the next one. So the radioactive contaminants, again, people will see the date sampled is from 2020, and that is because the sampling is required less frequently because it is less likely to change dramatically year to year. So it's 6 years. So we'll be taking that sample again this year. But those are the same numbers they have been, and we have to, the level that is detected, the health department wants us to report the highest level that we recorded. So you'll see that the level detected matches the range to the right. But again, well below those limits further to the right. We go to the next one. Lead and copper. So we have an increase, we now based on distribution and the system size, there's 60 different locations and samples that we have to take. Those are taken twice a year throughout the distribution system, but they are also taken from the tap. And what we're required to report is at the 90th percentile. So those numbers are shown in that middle column. Again, no violations. There was, you'll notice in the ranges from low to the very highest, there was one property that had a sample that exceeded the limit from a lead standpoint. But that again is, when we looked at that, it's from the summer. We talked to the property owner. We've informed and shared that with them. We suspect it would, I think they were away for a number of period of weeks in August before the sample was taken. So when the water sits in their internal plumbing, that can happen. But again, it is in the internal plumbing. We don't control the internal plumbing of buildings. So it is always advised we test certainly our system. We've eliminated, we have done the lead service line inventory. We only identified 2 lead service lines in the entire system, and that was not on our side. It was on the customer side of the shutoff. Both of those homeowners, we notified them. Both of them have worked to replace those lines. So there were additional, as part of that, we had additional service lines that were, we identified as galvanized, so it required further investigation. I think there were 13 of those. I'd have to go, I will confirm the number, but we worked with each of those property owners to do the further investigation and confirm that they don't have to replace their service lateral. But again, once you get into the internal plumbing of a house or a building, that's on the individual property owner. So we can go to the next one. We then have secondary substances. These are, we test for a whole host of substances, which are shown in the report. They're not included here, but you can see them in the water quality report. They're there every year. All of the substances that are tested for, but if they're not listed in one of the tables, it's because they weren't detected. But those that do come up are listed here, and you will see the levels detected both in the reservoir and in the wells, and all well below the maximum contaminant level for that substance. And I think it's important to note too, again, keep in mind on the left-hand side, the unit of measurement. So some of these change. Some are in parts per million, some are in parts per billion, but those are listed there. We go to the next one. Nope, other way. There you go. So these are the sampling results for PFAS, the PFOS and PFOA, and 1,4-dioxane, but we're not only required to sample both for those two. There's a set of 16 substances total, subsets of the PFAS, the PFOA and PFOS that we have to sample for. These are the 4 that were detected out of that. So there are an additional 12 that were not detected, but they're listed here. And this is the raw water. So before it is filtered, before it is treated, before it is disinfected, before we do anything to it, these are the limits. And you can see those figures there for both the reservoir and then each of the 4 wells that make up the Leonard Park wells individually. Again, important to remember too that not all, so the water that comes out of the wells is a combination of all 4 wells, not from any one well more than the other. It's a mix. Also to point out that these measurements are in parts per trillion. So it is a very small unit of measurement. There's another slide to it. It's 1 second every 32,000 years is what that translates into, or 1 drop of water in 22 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So we're talking about a very, very small unit of measurement. And New York State has adopted one of the most stringent thresholds in the country at 10 parts per trillion. And that is just for PFOA and PFOS. We'll get to that a little bit more later. But currently it is 10 parts per trillion. We're below that in all respects. So, and there were 2 others that were detected, and they're listed here. We go to the next slide. We then have, there's some unregulated substances. Nickel is one. There is no maximum contaminant level for it, but again, we list it here. It was detected in parts per billion, and then sodium. So the salt, 32 parts per million in the reservoir, 26 out of the wells. And we do note in the report that anything in excess of 20 parts per million, if you are on a severely restricted sodium diet, is a problem, is an issue, and is a concern. A moderately restricted sodium diet is 270 parts per million. So if you are on a severely restricted sodium diet, this water is in excess of that, but for anyone else, the water is well below the limits for moderately restricted, and that's included, as it has been every year on the report. And then lastly, the figures for the turbidity, both at the entry point of the coming out of Byram Lake and throughout the distribution system. So again, no violations and well below the limits. So we go to the next one. So we also note there is no regulation, but during 2025, we also sampled for radon at the entry point to the distribution system. The results are 282 picocuries per liter is the unit of measurement. There are no limits. There is no maximum contaminant level. The US EPA has proposed levels no higher than 4,000, but those are not adopted. That is not an established rule yet at this point, but still well below the number and the figure that the EPA has considered. Again, the level of sodium, as we detected, it is above the limit for people on a severely restricted sodium diet, but well below the limit for those on a moderately restricted diet. Go to the next one. So when it comes to the PFOA and PFOS, and this starts with 2020, in 2020, as required, we began to test for these substances. They've traditionally been used non-stick coatings as an ingredient in firefighting foam. PFOS was used in Scotchgard and as an ingredient in foam, the firefighting foam. 1,4-dioxane was used as a solvent. So these were things we started testing for then, and we've taken the sampling and the testing as required by the health department. We've also take the required sampling by the EPA and report that to them. This was expanded in 2021, as I said, to include testing for an additional 16 subset substances of PFOA and PFOS, and has been continued since. Again, only those that are detected are included in the report. Those that are not detected are listed again with all the other substances that we test for but did not get a detection on. Back in 2023, the US EPA proposed a national primary drinking water regulation for 6 PFAS substances. It was the PFOA and S, and then 4 other ones listed there. On April 10th of 2024, the EPA finalized that rule. Under that rule, the village would need to continue monitoring those substances through 2027, and we would have until 2029 to meet the new federal standards. However, on May 18th, just a few weeks ago, the EPA proposed a rule to uphold that standard for just PFOA and PFOS, because the system, the rule had originally included 6 substances. It is now upholding the rule just on PFOA and PFOS, and has suggested and enabling systems to request an additional 2 years to meet those standards out to 2031. The other rule that they have proposed is to simply remove the prior rule on the other 4 substances and remove that limit. So that is currently what is being proposed by the EPA. That's going to go through its federal comment period, and we will see how that, what the result of that ends up being and what action that the EPA will take. As I said, in 2020, the state of New York established the limits for PFOA and S at 10 parts per trillion, which was at the time one of the lowest in the country. And they set a limit of 1 part per billion for the 1,4-dioxane. Again, analogous to a second every 32,000 years, 1 square inch in 250 square miles, or a drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools is what a part per trillion is.
Ed, can you
Yes,
just
sir.
explain what the PFs are, as far as the connotation that they're forever chemicals?
Yeah, so again, they will last, they're out there in the environment and they're there. There are methods to filter and remove that from water. There's a number of different technologies that are being deployed. Interestingly enough, one of the ways, so it's used as a substance primarily in firefighting foam is where it got into the system and into the ground and in the environment most frequently or commonly, but again, also used in Scotchgard, so for couches, for carpets, for things like that make their way into the waste stream. It then finds its way into the groundwater. But again, firefighting, so the example, Washington Lake and Newburgh, because of all that firefighting activity, foam at Stewart Air Base, that would make its way into Washington Lake, Newburgh's water supply. And that was one of the first examples of very high, 1,300 parts per trillion, I think were the numbers they were looking at. But one of the ways in which they remove it is, as they filter it out, the solution then to break it apart is actually to heat it in a furnace to, I think, about 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And it breaks apart the chemical bonds to render it safe. Or safer. So that's currently, and it's a media, one of the examples I think is, one of the methods is a media filtration. It's like a carbon filter, but in media material that needs to be replaced every 18 months and then removed. So if you come to that point, there is an expense to that on a regular basis, both for the media, the removal, and then to replace the media. So, but more to come on that. So we'll see. There you go. So we're also required to share some of the capital improvements that we've made to the water system. So last year, we completed replacement of all the internal piping and equipment at the Byram Lake Reservoir Pump Station, critical piece of infrastructure that allows us to get the water out of the reservoir and to the filter plant and out to the rest of the village. So that has all been upgraded. The installation of new flow meters at the filter plant and replacement of the Maple Avenue water main were all completed. And again, that Maple Avenue water main, we'd had about, I think, 3 or 4 different breaks within a couple year period. So it was certainly due to be replaced. So we're happy to have that done. So the next we have just some water conservation tips. Again, these are just a few. Automatic dishwashers use 15 gallons for every cycle, regardless of how many dishes are loaded. So, you know, get a run for your money and load it all the way to capacity before you run it. Turn the tap turn it off when you're brushing your teeth. Check every faucet in your home for leaks. Slow drip can add 15 to 20 gallons a day. We also, sometimes the flapper on the toilet, one of the things we see commonly, the flapper on the toilet, which is a relatively inexpensive thing to replace. Sometimes it's rubber and sometimes it just wears out. But if you put a couple of drops of food coloring in the tank and you see it come through into the bowl, there's a leak and the flapper can be replaced. Save you a bunch. So, and you can check your water meter to find any leaks, right? If you turn everything off, if the meter shouldn't be moving. If the meter's still moving with everything off, then water's running somewhere. So, any questions? We can go to the next one. If anybody has any questions, again, the report is being mailed out to all of the water supply customers listed on the billing address for each account in our system. The report will be available on the website. And any more information on the report or any questions, certainly please contact the Water Department, 864-0029, or you can call the Westchester County Department of Health, 813-5000. That's it.
I guess it might be related. Just folks continue to ask me about the water restrictions. So where are we on that?
So the reservoir is climbing. It is, when I talked to the operator last week, we were at about 87.5. He was 87.5%. So we're moving in the right direction. I think we're looking to get to 90% before we look at reducing further. Okay.
Mr. Brancati, on the water report, can you just explain, on page 4, it talks about chloride, and it says Byram Lake level detected 78.1, Leonard Park Wells 90.1, and that's a secondary substance. How is that different than the sodium on the next page, which is an unregulated substance?
It's the way the health department regulates it.
Are they different, or I thought chloride was essentially sodium?
Sodium chloride is NaCl is salt.
Right, so they're both salt.
But it's. I can get somebody to I'll get you an answer from the operators.
Okay. And I just wanted to point out in our sampling results for the sodium, it says 32 for Byram Lake and 26, and then in your notes you said for Byram Lake it's 34.6.
I apologize. It is 32. I apologize.
Thank you.
Yep. And then lastly, with respect to the bridge, as I shared, the Preston Way Bridge, as I shared at the last meeting, we are, DOT requested a redesign on the abutments. Our engineers, AI engineers, are near completion of that. They are resubmitting. They're submitting to address all of DOT's comments and to address as requested in the next couple days. So we will, as soon as that is submitted, hopefully by Wednesday, as soon as that's submitted, We have talked with our state representatives to urge and insist that DOT work as quickly as possible to review that material and turn that back around to us so we can get that out on the street. Not only the plans, the bid documents, all of that has been submitted to them and has been reviewed. So we're looking to get that out as soon as once we get that to them, that they can turn that around, their review, and get that back to us so we can get it out and get the bid issued. So that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. Board reports, Trustee Bryant.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, as a result of the Art Walk reception, Joanne Hochstein was very generous with her expertise and her time and put together a community quilt that was created by the kids at the event. And that's going to be hung at the library. So I just wanted to let everybody know that you can stop by and see this lovely piece of art created by the children in town and by Joanne Hochstein. Secondly, I want to say a thank you to Volunteer Ambulance Corps, the Fire Department, the Police Department, Village Hall, and the mayor in particular. My second grader came home raving about her community walking tour field trip for all parts of it. So thank you so much for accommodating them. They all came out waving their safety lights around. It was a real joy. So again, thanks again to all of you.
I'm disappointed I didn't speak to her directly.
I asked her, I said, did you tell the mayor that?
She was the star?
And she was like, no, she's not one to be in the spotlight. So she's fine. So now that the weather has been so nice, it has been time. It's now time to be in the garden. So myself and CAC members John Rhodes and Robin Bucco got out and did some weeding in Fluellen. And the next steps for that is to rebuild the fence around the park, which will be done by members of the CAC. And then further, once that is completed, then we can clean it up a little bit more and then do some replanting. Some of the things that have been lost in particular were obedient plant and the mist flower, which I have an abundance of, so I'm happy to take out some babies and send them down, absolutely. And then also, if you do happen to walk down Hyatt and you walk by Mount Kisco Elementary School, you'll see we also did a lot of planting there. And that's thanks to the Suzanne Grant Foundation and 10 former MKS students who are now juniors at Fox Lane. It was a warm day when we did that, but the fruits of the labor are really lovely to see. New York State has passed their budget. And I just we're going to add some of the highlights for the budget, particularly for this region, in the newsletter that will be going out this week. So I will add on to that, but I wanted to circle back to the deputy mayor's mention last time of the electric bus mandate. And through the budget negotiations, that has been pushed back 5 years to 2032. So it's not anything we need to worry about at the moment, or an unnecessary cost that will come down to us. Finally, a few things happening around. There's a Pride celebration at the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection, Saturday, June 13th, 11 to 2. And then the Fox Lane Fashion Show, which does include students from Mount Kisco, is Monday, June 15th, 7 p.m. at Fox Lane. And I would like to take a moment and just ask, if I may, the village manager and possibly the village attorney on any updates to the tea house.
Yep, I got it. Thank you, Trustee Bryant. We are currently still negotiating with the other side. I don't have any substantive updates except to say that we communicated another, I guess, a counter at the end of last week and haven't heard back yet. So unfortunately, I don't have any substantive updates or steps forward at this point.
Okay.
So I think John, we should, not everyone was here 2 weeks ago and not everyone was here 4 weeks ago. So, so it might be a good idea to repeat where we were 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, as opposed to nothing new to report. So,
Sure.
Thank you.
Going back some time, as you know, there's been a dispute between the village and the contractor with regard to not only the timeline, but the quality of the project. There have been multiple communications between the parties throughout the past year. Invariably, it resulted in a breakdown of the communication, and the village was forced to call on the performance bond. That did two things. The first is it obviously called on the performance bond and got the bond company involved. But the second, which is more important, was I think it got the contractor back to the table to facilitate the most important aspect of this, which is completion of the project. We're in that process right now, currently, and we've been so for the past couple of weeks, which is trying to negotiate a resolution. Part of that resolution includes timeline. It includes competence of the completion, and it also includes the choice of the subcontractors, because the village historically has not been satisfied with at least one of the subcontractors who's done the work. As you can imagine, because of the moving parts, it's a bit hard to nail it down, because the last thing the village really wants to do is go into a protracted litigation, because then the project just simply will drag on. So we're trying to do it in an efficient manner. So Trustee Luzio, the thing that we've been, I guess, moving forward on is the negotiations. The thing that we haven't gotten to quite yet is the conclusion.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. And I guess just finally, a thank you to everyone who put together the memorial ceremony that happened on Saturday. Even though the weather was less than cooperative, it was a really lovely experience. So thanks to them.
Thank you. Trustee Luzio.
Thank you, Mayor. I may go a bit in and out of order here. So the first thing I just want to remind people is the Mount Kisco Farmers Market is back up and running in its shady new spot. Sundays, 11 to 3. I was there this past Sunday, stopped in. So it's a little different this year, and the shade makes it a little more, homier. So please stop by. Parking lot was full. I met on May 20th with Bob Lehman and John Rhodes to talk about how their feelings that the village must follow through with our own climate action plan. And I see Bob here, so I have a feeling we might hear, and John is here as well, I have a feeling we might hear a little bit about that in our board reports. But I think it's a good time. We haven't really talked about it much in these first 4 or 5 months of this new administration, so I'm glad you're both here, and look forward to hearing from you and reminding folks of what the climate action plan was and how important it is to the future of Mount Kisco. So I look forward to that in a few minutes, and I don't mean to put you on the spot if that's not what you were here to talk about, but had the pleasure of attending a library board of trustees meeting for the first time on May 20th. It just continues to amaze me, the number of people that are volunteering their time and efforts and working in different places to continue to make Mount Kisco a wonderful place. May 21st, Trustee Brown and I met with Professor Adamson, who's the chair of Addiction Studies Department at Westchester Community College. We talked to him about the possibility of his program providing us with an intern to do follow-up work with our courts for the defendants who are recommended into various treatments that our judges have. I mean, it's a hard thing for our judges when they're talking about violations, not crimes, to do anything other than recommend that individuals get help. That's more of a district attorney thing. But in our own courts, we'll see if we can get some help there. I continue to talk to our county legislator, our chief judge in charge of our treatment courts, Sherilyn Pulver, to try to get assistance to Mount Kisco, to our court system, to do follow-up with these individuals. I bouncing around again, I'll join Trustee Bryant. The Memorial Day ceremony was very moving. As always, the mayor's speech has hit home to those who've given all. And in my family, my brother-in-law's father died in World War II on a mission. His plane went down and his body never recovered. So in my own family, we certainly think about it on Memorial Day every year. I want to briefly just talk 2 seconds and propose something. The Economic Development Council has sent us several emails regarding the Grant and Beautification Project. I'm excited that Rick, Joe, Abe, and Dan are a formidable force. And we were talking before about how, annoying the board is actually a good thing, and that's just being persistent. And the Economic Development Council, with Joe at the top, Joe Feliciano has made multiple suggestions. I really think, Mr. Brancotti, it's time that at least a couple members of this board meet with some of the folks that Joe Feliciano has been talking to, and so that we can all kind of be on the same page of where we might want to head. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be the whole board in a work session, but at least two of us, yourself, maybe anyone else in your department, along with the Chamber of Commerce, and maybe some of the other active members of town, such as the Historical Society, the CAC, the Arts Council, the folks that are, trying to show the best face of Mount Kisco. So I don't really want to propose a date right here, but I'm certain that at least one of my members might want to meet with us. And if we could do that sometime in the next 2 to 4 weeks, Mr. Brancotti.
So the EDC is meeting regularly.
Yes, I know.
The mayor and I were with them last week at their meeting. Their proposal, and we've worked with them, and that has been we made an adjustment to the county dig grant. So they have their homework assignment. They are, we gave them a number of different vendors in terms of 2 of their suggestions: benches and bike racks. They are to pick the one, collectively that they think is the most appropriate, makes the most sense, and the numbers of each and locations where they would like to see them, to develop that into, right, okay, this is the proposal, this is what we'd like to see. We can then, you guys, we can certainly share that with the full board, but then we would look to go ahead and purchase those with those grant funds and install them.
And that's the $50,000 grant, or
that is that component of the larger. It's actually 250, but the rest of it has been spoken for in terms of lighting and signage upgrades. So again, that was we pivoted from the facade upgrade program that not necessarily supported by the EDC or the chamber, and not that it's just for a number of different reasons as to, it was only downtown. It wasn't including all the businesses. There was a sense that it might reward property owners that weren't as fully responsible in maintaining their facades as others. So we put that to the side and reappropriating it to this purpose. So yeah, I read the Joe's minutes and is aware of some of that, but I also think it's with us
trying to do a better job of communicating what we're trying to do, mostly through Trustee Bryant over there on my far right. I think maybe still, and I'll attend their next meeting for sure. Just wasn't able to attend their last meeting, but I mean, I also think it's about sort of this combined calendar idea, this combined vision idea that that I think the new Economic Development Committee, as reconstituted, is thinking about trying to get. I guess it's just everybody rowing in the same direction on the other things. I mean, yes, where we spend the 50,000, we have it. Yeah, we want to spend it. We want to get the most bang for our buck. But I think also it's just the vision should be a shared vision among all these different partners. Mr. Mercado. Next. Also happy to see the pride flag out front, and thank you, Heather, for mentioning the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection's celebration. Again, I'll repeat it, June 13th, Saturday, 2 p.m. Bouncy house, face painting, lawn games, ice cream truck, arts and crafts. It's at the Lutheran Church, 15 South Bedford Road. The whole family, a lot of fun. A lot of us were there last year. As I mentioned before, just a couple more things, sorry. As I mentioned before, what Trustee Brown and I met with the Westchester County Community College chair. The board has to continue to work, and all of us have to continue to work to deal with the issue that's been brought up on ad nauseum for the entire time I've been in Mount Kisco. Some of the things we're working toward, in addition to that, I already mentioned, we're trying to get a second Spanish-speaking counselor at the Lexington Center. The judges want to send folks there, but the services are proving difficult to provide. We've talked over and over again about enforcement. That can only be one component. We've talked to the DA's office about treatment programs if folks are charged with criminal offenses. And I'm also lobbying the chief judge of our diversion courts to see if we can get a caseworker here in our Mount Kisco courts. So it's a process. Anybody who thinks we can solve a problem one day, a problem that's been here for years and years and years, is, you're going to be disappointed. But, everyone up here I know is working hard. Last thing, Ed, I just want to bring to your attention, it's a fairly new email. I don't know if you got a chance to read it. Can I have a little bit of Harry McCarty asked about some of the projects that are going on Barker Street and where we are. We've received a number of emails from folks who live along Barker. The most recent one is from Harry McCartney today. And I know this was part of the grant that we got. I don't know that we can do anything there, but just can you give us an update on what you think is what's going on on Barker Street and Bedford Plaza entrance, that kind of things? I know that some of the residents want walks, some of the residents want crosswalks, some of the residents want speed bumps, and just what are we thinking most recently on that? And sorry to put you on the spot, and we can always do this in 2 weeks.
The short answer is there is a plan from the Complete Street, the safety action plan from the Complete Street study for Barker. That was a project that was submitted for grant funding. We haven't secured grant funding yet for that project, but it does include a variety of upgrades, lighting upgrades, crosswalks, some curb extensions, but I'm happy to share it with everybody, but it was part of the safety action plan. And so we're still working on securing funding for that project.
Maybe just a response directly, attaching that.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind, that would be helpful. Thank you. I have nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. I can just make one comment. This has been on the table, Barker Street, for a while. I'd appreciate it if you or Ken could contact, this is the one variable that I never gotten a straight answer on. Because it's a bus route, what the Beeline bus, Westchester County buses are on, I think speed bumps in themselves are out of the question, but speed platforms, speed humps, traffic calming measures that may not have a problem with school buses and the Beeline buses. But as I understand it from down county, Beeline doesn't want any kind of speed calming devices, if you will. I'm not talking about traffic circles and that sort of thing. Because there's an effect on the buses. So maybe somebody can contact Beeline and see what their position is, because that was one of the deterrents. And then the other deterrence is we need an engineer to take measurements, so they're not too, whatever we do there is not too close to the ingress and egress of the apartment houses and single-family driveways.
Yes, sir. I don't think anything was envisioned to widen the curb line, right? I think the curb line was going to stay where it was, except with separate from the complete street. Down at the Barker Street where the culvert passes over the Branch Brook, the culvert needs to be replaced. We have that, that's designed, that's ready to go, but it had to be coordinated with DOT, who has plans to redo the intersection of Barker and North Bedford, as well as the intersection of North Bedford and Main Street. But all of that work is on hold as a result of the bridge, because the detour is through those areas and there's no way to do both things while that's going on. So those are all waiting until we get the bridge reopened.
The follow-up then, because of the cut-through, we also received some complaints about speeding. It wasn't in this most recent email, so I don't know if it's still as bad as it was. But just a reminder maybe to reach out to the police and say, look, just keep it. I mean, I don't want them there every single day, but just there were a lot of complaints about some speeding through there. Obviously, that's why people do cut through, is to save time. But maybe the police can add it to one of their details at different points.
Yes.
Thanks.
Trustee Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I just want to start by saying that a lot of good things have been going on in the village these past few weeks, and I've had an opportunity to attend some programs just like Trustee Lucio and others here who attended the event on Memorial Day. I thought it was a great celebration and commemoration. It was a solemn ceremony to honor those who gave all for our country. And part of the program included 2 elementary school students who were winners of an essay competition, and they were able to read their Memorial Day speeches. So I found it to be very touching. And I was impressed by how the young students were able to express their feelings about the holiday and what they had learned in school. And the other thing is they each received a $100 prize for their speeches, from my understanding. And I thought that was a great thing to do for them. There was a speaker named Major Kathy Johansson, and she spoke of her experiences And we were able to then celebrate the 100th anniversary of our local American Legion. And we had lunch at the American Legion. But I just wanted to bring out that point that our own American Legion is celebrating 100 years. And I think that is something to be commemorated. In addition to going to meetings with Tom, I also had an opportunity to meet with our director of our pantry, Trina Fontaine, and with Monica Spears, who's also on board at the pantry. And they sat down with Trustee Brian and myself to discuss their needs going forward in this community. They do continue to do excellent work for the residents of this village. They provide food for those who have insufficient ways of feeding themselves and their families. They provide food weekly, which is something that a lot of other pantries don't do. They provide food monthly or in inconsistent ways and times. So our pantry, which was the Interfaith Food Pantry, is now called The Pantry, provides food weekly to those in need, and also for our seniors or shut-in, they do deliver the groceries over there, but you have to, sign your relative up for those services. They have an interest in working in addition with our senior population to even do more for them than they're doing right now. And so they wanted to contact our senior center and our person who's in head of nutrition to discuss if our seniors at the senior center needed anything additional, to see how they could fill that spot and partner with us, because they're an intricate part of our community. They want to expand their services. They don't just serve Mount Kisco, they serve other communities as well, but they're not just a small operation. They're needing more space, and they want to expand it so they can do even more to service the needs of our community. Also on that same day, Mike Garber, who is a resident of Mount Kisco, was reading from his first book, Melancholy Baby, and he did that at the Blue Heron, which is by the train station. And he gave a talk. He talks about jazz artists during Timpan Alley times from New York City. And what's so relevant is that the things he was talking about in his book were reflective of the artwork at the Blue Heron. If you've been there, they have artwork which are sheet music pages from songs from the 20s and 30s and a lot of jazz types of music. So some of what Mike had to speak about was reflective in the artwork. So that was very interesting. And you might want to see that artwork when you go over there. On May 28th, I attended the CAC meeting. And I just want to thank all the people that were there at the meeting for the interest that they take in the village and how seriously they take the work that they do, because they're meticulous, they do research, they want to make sure that they're doing their best service for the village, and I appreciate that. And in light of that, I also want to say that there's a leaf blower law. There's a leaf blower law in the village where you're not supposed to use a leaf blower between May and October. And there are a lot of reasons to support that law, including the toxic fumes and the loud noises, and that law has been put in effect. It's an ordinance that's been put in effect, and it should be followed. So I want to make sure that the proper signage is returned to where it should be. Proper signage, right? And I know it's on our website, but maybe we can add it again to our newsletter. I think it was in the last one, but we can put it again because it's still during that time, and we want people to make sure that they know that that leaf blower law is in effect. Okay. Now, I also want to talk to you about what's happening at the Senior Center on June 4th, which is this Thursday coming up. There's a pet therapy session. You're invited to join them for a calming pet therapy experience. It's designed to reduce stress, promote relaxation, and support emotional wellness. And there'll be a gentle, interactive pet therapy session. I've been announcing in the past few weeks that on June 6th, there's an arts and craft fair at Fountain Park between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., where handcrafted treasures will be there for sale. We ask that you support local artists and maybe discover some unique finds. On June 12th at 2 p.m., there's Pizza and a Movie. Under the Tuscan Sun is the movie that's going to be shown. So if you haven't seen it, you want to come by and spend time with the seniors, that's June 12th at 2 p.m. On June 24th, there's a luau luncheon and hula show. Luau luncheon and hula show along with celebrating June birthdays. And that's at the Senior Center. On June 17th, there's an event at Saxon Woods Pool. That's in White Plains. It's a county-wide event, and our seniors will be attending that. There'll be, of course, music, dancing, and lunch there. And on June 26th at 10 a.m., there's a canasta tournament, and there's a prize for the top winner. Now, for all these events, you might want to sign up or at least call the center for times or details, and that's 914-666-8766. If you want to call the Senior Center to reserve a spot or to ask about any details about those events. And lastly, I'm just going to re-announce that on June 19th is Juneteenth, and the village is having a celebration. It's scheduled to take place on Friday, June 19th, between 12 and 5 p.m., I believe right behind City Hall. Mr. Brancotti, is that right? Right behind City Hall, there'll be a setup for the Juneteenth celebration. And so everyone is invited to attend. There should be vendors, again, music and celebrations, and so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Schwanner.
Okay, I just want to follow up on Trustee Brown. I assume that Village Hall will be closed on Juneteenth. Is that correct? It's a
Yes.
federal holiday?
Yes.
Okay. I also wanted to remind folks that if you haven't paid your water bill, you still have time, I believe. You can still pay it till June 2nd. So we talked about the tax bill for the village tax bill, which you may or may not have received today, but the water bill is actually due now. So by tomorrow without penalty. The parking fees were increased effective today. And so, is that correct? They were scheduled. And so apparently they are in effect. And so our meters and our kiosks are now requiring 25 cents for 15 minutes. And so it will be $1 per hour. So make sure that you don't cut yourself short. Our tickets continue to get more expensive. Early voting for the primaries starts June 13th, and I assume that will be in the library upstairs. We'll have more information, and I certainly will put times and days on Facebook. People should know. The primary election day is June 23rd. The shredder will be at the Fox Center again on June 18th. Again, I use this. I know my neighbors use it. You just drive up with whatever you need shredded without binder clips or paper clips in the back of your car, and they just pop your trunk and they take it out of your car. It's supplied by Westchester County. It's one of the good things they do for us about once a month. And I think it's been very successful, and a lot of people are very pleased to be able to take advantage of that. I did want to mention certainly Pride Month. Today is the first day of Pride Month. And I was going to read something about the colors of the scarf, but I don't want to take that much time. But I just want to say that it's to honor the LGBTQ plus community, to promote equality and raise awareness about the ongoing fight for inclusion and human rights. I think it's important. I've been part of the LGBTQ plus community. I've done legal work there. It's important. So I was asked to read an email that I received. I spent some, this talks about the fact that we are now restricting residents and taxpayers to 3 minutes. I spent some time looking at numerous other town and village public trustees and council meetings, and we are the only town where a taxpayer and residents cannot get an answer to a question at public comment time. What is being hidden from our residents and taxpayers? What is the board and manager hiding from the public? The taxpayers deserve to know how our money is being spent. When the government is going to fix our problems and fix the things that are destroying the quality of our life, i.e. traffic, public drunkenness, and harassment of our friends, families, and neighbors when they try to ask questions. Why do we never get answers? We are told that we will receive an email from the manager, which never comes. What is he hiding? Again, what is our board hiding? This is a disservice, and none of you are upholding your oath of office, which says that you will represent all residents. Thank you. This was submitted by Mr. Mark Maffia. I also wanted to just mention this. I received this from Westchester Jewish Family Services. It's called Project Lifesaver Program, and it is a free service for people who wander. And the woman in charge, his name is Isabel Peterson. I spoke to her. She is happy to take phone calls and talk to you. The way it works is through our police department, actually through the Westchester County Police, so it won't be a burden on our local police. Her phone is 914-761-0600, extension 2230. It basically monitors the whereabouts, and it's a GPS type driven, but much more accurate. And apparently, if you have someone who wanders and they have wandered, if you contact the police department, within 3 minutes, they can locate the whereabouts of your loved one. I mentioned it to 2 friends in a very short period of time. Both have taken advantage of it. I think, again, even the batteries are free. And so if you have someone who wanders, we had a neighbor, he was 2 houses away, didn't know where he was, something like this might save someone's life. So again, it's called Project Lifesaver, and this was Isabel Peterson. Give it a try. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. That program's been very successful in the town of Somers, and Westchester County's been involved in it, the Westchester County Department of Public Safety, for many, many years. We're coming up to the date, the 200th and 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. While I was attending my son's confirmation, my grandson's confirmation, Linda and I took the opportunity to visit the Northern Fork of Virginia, where I spent part of my childhood, a childhood that I revere still today. In the Northern Fork of Virginia, it's located halfway between Washington, D.C. and Richmond. It's the birthplace of George Washington, Madison, Monroe, our founding fathers, presidents, the birthplace even of a Confederate general. The area is steeped in history. It's between the Potomac River and the Rappahannock River, and the home of a very large fort, A.P. Hill, and a significant naval military base. And the reason I'm bringing this up is there's so much history in this country for proud Americans, and the proud Americans that are part of the Northern Fork that a lot of people don't realize where George Washington was born. He was only there for 3 or 4 years as a child, but his parents were actually born in the United States of America, what was just on the verge of becoming the United States of America. So we're going to, there's a lot of history going on, but the flag behind me was flown over the Capitol, and it was flown over the Capitol on May 12th with the help of my son-in-law, a former Mount Kisco resident. He approached the Capitol architect on my behalf, and who was a retired Army Colonel, Tom Austin, who's also a professional engineer. And they have an entire staff of qualified tradesmen. And I'm going to just read the plaque that he sent to the village of Mount Kisco. And my son-in-law, who works for the House of Representatives, is the director and manager of the Health and Wellness Program for all the civilian employees of the House. I thank him again. I shouldn't thank him on behalf of my wife, because my wife is still devastated that he took the job there and took her precious grandchildren. But that's part of life. He had the same position at Stony Brook University. But in any event, he approached the Capitol architect, and they sent this along, and I'll show you the plaque in a minute. Flag of the United States of America, commemorating the nation's 250th anniversary. And Heather, I should have asked, maybe they were too young, but there's a big difference between the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. So a lot of people don't realize that. But in commemorating the nation's 250th anniversary, the plaque reads, "This is to certify the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol on May 12, 2026. The flag was flown for the village of Mount Kisco and its citizens on behalf of the mayor of the village in celebration of America's 250th year of independence." Now, I don't know where they make up these names, but America's semi-quincentennial. We went through the sesquicentennial, so this is 250 years. So what I'm hoping is this flag will stay in the village hall for the next year, and then be put in a case given to the Historical Society, and something that the people that are here in this village, maybe some of those second graders, on the 300th anniversary will look at that and say, thank you to this board. So on behalf of the village, this is the plaque that was actually framed in the White House shop. I'm sorry, the Capitol shop. So it's something special, and Lizette's going to take charge of mounting that plaque. So it's I, for one, and I'm sure the other members of the board join me in saying I wish we could be doing more for this 250th anniversary, but we will be doing more. Mr. Brancotti and I spoke about help fund the 9/11 memorial, and it's not going to be an extravagant amount of funding, but we're going to help them with some of the things, and maybe have a larger barbecue or something there that we can have more people attend. So I don't know what else we could have been doing. We spent about $50,000 with the sesquicentennial last year, and I'm giving the village manager a break on this. So as Heather said, I did make a presentation to 70 Mount Kisco Elementary School children right in this room. It's hard to compete talking about the mundane tasks of government. They repeatedly asked me, how do you become mayor? And then how do you keep everything in order? And I said, I don't know. And, but it's hard to compete with the fire department and the police department did an excellent job in introducing the K-9 unit and some special operations officers that made their way up to Mount Kisco for this event. So I'm glad Eleanor, I'm glad she enjoyed it. So it's special. And they did walk from the elementary school to Village Hall with a police escort. And then they left Village Hall and went to the Green Street Firehouse and to the police station. So thank you for everything you guys did to help with that. As Trustee Luzio brought up, I did attend the meeting with the Economic Development Council, and we had a good discussion on a number of issues, including the downtown development grant. But I suggested to them, and they're on their own, and I'm not looking to interfere with what they're doing, and just make sure that they know to have the village board support. But I did recommend that in the near future, they continue the work on the empty stores in the business district, and they seek the advice of people that both myself, when I was here in 2011, 12, 15, 16, 17, advice of professionals in the business. For example, Admiral Realty, Jonathan Gordon, who works diligently in marketing the village. Todd Albright, Admiral Realty, who also works marketing the village. I don't know where it is, but if I can find it, Jonathan Gordon did a complete analysis of the village with the demographics and gave ideas of what stores would be successful. And I'm talking about brick and mortar retail. So Trustee Luzio is right. They are working, and there's a lot of work to be done. But taking care of the benches and taking care of some wayfinding signs and all that, that's commendable. But I think we should be looking at what else happened on Saturday after the Memorial Day service. I did an opening and a rebranding of Bow Bar. It's a juice bar on South Mosier Avenue. The owners are John and Margarita Segura. John graduated from Manhattan College. He's quite the entrepreneur. I commended them on their youthfulness, that they are taking chances doing entrepreneurship, and despite the traffic nightmares that we've gone through, they're realizing great success, and they only spoke positive about the village. So this is the type. It's a service food business, juice bar, focused towards health and wellness. They don't live in Mount Kisco now, but they're trying to work their way back. But John's father does live in Mount Kisco, and they're very happy to be in business here.
I stopped in there afterwards, just right after you were there. It was fantastic.
I told them, you have so many relatives, you don't even need a following. I did attend an Eagle Scout ceremony for a young man whose brother I also attended an Eagle Scout ceremony too. He made an Eagle Scout during COVID, and he actually put off the ceremony till after COVID, and it was actually after he graduated from college, and he has a very successful career with NBC News now. And his brother's name is Rocket, first name, Stetch. His dad lives in Diplomat.
Strike, David Strike.
And Peru has been a community volunteer for years. So I did say this when the building inspector was here. We did work on a number of applications, reviewing them for the building inspector, and I believe we made the right decision. I have in my notes that I'm very frustrated with the tea house. We have the report. I want to send an RFP out for architectural work for this type of work. because there's something went awry here, and I don't know what it is, but we've had great, what I call clerk of the works in the past on some of these projects, and I don't know what went awry. I know about the change in management and this and that, but we were getting the information late, and then with the winter weather coming, I don't know what the condition of that building is. So I'd like a detailed report if it doesn't cost any money, but I don't want to waste money with getting a report. Jonathan, if you can get this thing off the dime, if we have to replace the builder, let's do it and move on. Two Woodland is a zombie abandoned property. Emails, I think the entire board gets the emails from Tom Comito. I've discussed it at length with the PD. It needs more attention, more inspections, more security, until we get the action completed and we can take ownership of the property if they're in default. But it's is that something you're working on also?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's already underway. We filed a tax lien foreclosure in court. The homeowner is going to be going an Article 81 proceeding, so that's going to be on hold. But what we have done is an order to show cause to secure the premises, which the judge granted. The guardian that's been appointed has gone silent, so we've asked the court to order another conference so we can get that accomplished. We've done what we were supposed to do. The village has done what it's supposed to do. We just have been stymied by the guardian, unfortunately, not doing what he's supposed to do.
Okay. Karen made a comment about the public comment and the forum and the response. The village board voted for me to adhere to the order of business, which is in the rules of procedure, and in the rule of business, the purpose of is cited. The purpose referring to the public comment. The purpose of this is to provide an opportunity for residents and/or local businesses to speak freely to the board on matters of local interest for a period not to exceed 3 minutes. The intent is not to engage in debate, but to inform the board of matters of concern. Whether I'm in town, out of town, sleeping, if anybody has a question that's not answered that I can answer, you can email me, call me on the phone, do whatever you want, and I'll answer the question. The board asked us to reduce the time we're spending on this, so that's what I did. These are, I'm just going from notes that I should have been given last meeting when I was away. I'm getting complaints still on the parking issues. Ken, you've answered me, and I think you took some action on Carpenter Avenue. I know we referred it to the parking authority and the police department about cars driving the wrong way. The speeding is all over the village, and I'll address that in a minute. But also about the tree leaves and foliage blocking signs. I don't know whether those signs of. I think the highway foreman in his inspections should look, and if he sees trees or foliage blocking traffic lights or signage, he should take recommendations. The leaf blower law, I'd like to make a request and have a report on the enforcement up to date to see if there's any tweaking of the law we have to do or any clarifications. I did notice. I didn't know in traveling around the village, I didn't notice one homeowner using a leaf blower, but I noticed numerous contractors. And I cited this before. There is, the Newcastle's dates are different than Mount Kisco. And where I live, it's close to the borderline. So maybe that's why, but that's something that has to be addressed. and this, when I go back, is I go back to our code enforcement. They have to look for the contractor stickers, the licensing sticker on the back of the a bumper of the contractors to make sure they're licensed by the county, because they're told of the laws in different municipalities. So it's not only our work to publicize it, it's Westchester County's work. We got complaints about the enforcement of motorized bikes being operated on sidewalks and the young operators riding without helmets. I've addressed that with the police department. Very difficult law to enforce. Also, the proliferation of illegal U-turns in the business district. We talked about putting a median on South Mosher. That's something to deter these U-turns. But when the Mount Kisco Police Department was in force, a lieutenant took it upon himself. He was so aggravated with the U-turns, the lieutenant was out there writing tickets. So I'm going to expand on the manager's report on the Preston Way Bridge and the report I received on 5/16/2025, because we were called out on not being open and candid. Like I said, we received the report on May 16th. The board should have it. It's in the Dropbox. On the 18th of May, I wrote to the manager. After reading the report, my exact words were, "I'm in a state of disbelief. This is outrageous. 6 years ago, 6 years have passed since the village decided to build a completely new bridge. And now we learn that the design does not comport with New York State specifications." My reaction in conversation with the manager was, we should appeal the decision, and he can address this at length. But what had happened is our engineers received notice that the design that they perfected at considerable cost, after being approved by the New York State DOT on no less than 6 occasions, someone in the New York State DOT office says this isn't consistent with our plans and specifications. So they're going through a process of doing either a redesign or an appeal. My concern is this, and it's in the Dropbox, guys. My concern with this is, and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, there could be a significant cost increase because of New York State DOT's reaction rather late. So that's my obvious, the delay is an issue for me. I'm just going to keep going for a minute. I do agree with, I wasn't here for the last meeting. I do agree with Mayor Pickenich. We do need a policy on recognizing and honoring those members of special groups, clubs, affiliations, and designated special days in our village. So I hope, I totally agree. And I've had this conversation last year with the pride flag flying on the village, as it does in other communities. So, but we need a policy on all flags flying, and I hope we can start that movement.
Can I just say that I'm happy to work with that on you. I've already looked up some possibilities, just to send them your way, and we can get something done for sure.
Okay, I have a few more things. I request we move on increasing the security of Byram Lake. Your water report, Ed, was excellent. The board, I'm asking again, and this goes to the Conservation and Advisory Council. I'm asking for a complete, basically review and something that the Conservation Advisory Council and the citizens can relate to is the scheduled sewer line plans that are now being reviewed by engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers, and it spans from the pump station at the sawmill, goes through the wetlands south of Lido, across Lexington, towards Green Street, through Shoppers Park, across 133, I'm just going by memory, into along 117 in the wetlands between Bedford Plaza and 117. And it's a significant amount of work. And why I'm raising this issue is I understand the Conservation Advisory Council, or the Trail Committee, wanted to do some work south of Lido. And they should be apprised of what this is, because the causeway that's going to be built in the wetlands, they should be aware of, number one. And number two, as I understand it, whatever we do in the wetlands, we're going to have to replace that area of wetlands in the village. So, like I said, we have all these walls in the village hall. If we can get those plans and specifications laid out to the public, I think it would be great. Lizette's taking care of this. The Pinecrest National Night Out, for the board's edification, is on August 6, 2025, between 5 and 8 p.m. The police department, the fire department, the ambulance corps, and others will be notified, and obviously the Recreation Commission. Now, this unfortunately deserves a rather lengthy explanation. On the evening of May 27th, a few days ago, there was chaos in the village because of work being done on Main Street, Route 133, the state road. The project was the result of, again, New York State DOT issuing a construction permit without notifying the village, as far as I know. On that evening, I was at a lacrosse game for my senior granddaughter, and my phone was lighting up. When I got home back in Mount Kisco, I took immediate action and made some phone calls. And that next morning, I asked Con Ed to shut the project down. They shut it down on Thursday mid-afternoon. At that time, I worked with the manager, and we scheduled a meeting with the contractor, Con Edison, the Westchester County Department of Public Safety, the village assistant manager, the DPW, and I also contacted Senator Harkin's office for his support, because never should have happened. But anyway, I want answers. And Senator Harkin's office did send a representative at late notice. I got a hold of him. I probably woke him up after getting home from Albany on Friday morning. But the construction permit, without notifying the village, I did contact the manager, and I questioned him on why there was no pre-construction meeting, and why I wasn't notified, and why other people, including our engineer, weren't at the pre-construction meeting. Well, there was no pre-construction meeting because we weren't notified. So I have to say this in defense of, we had a meeting the following Monday, and Con Ed was more than receptive to each and every demand that I made and demands that the village manager set forth. Without hesitation, they agreed to provide police officers at their cost to manage the traffic in the future. They also agreed to delay the project till after schools close in June, because we all know, that those that live here, that the traffic is diminished when schools are not in session. But it's going to happen. it's not, and it's going to be a disruption, but at least we're aware of it now, and we're on the right course. It's not an emergency. It's something that Con Ed didn't have a problem with delaying for, the month of June. But it's going to be a college. It's going to be a major conflict, and they're going to be working on using different kinds of machinery, and we're going to be working on getting state DOT and find out why they didn't notify us. The manager and I have discussed that. My opinion is the permit from the village is necessary because they might not be doing work on 130 on village roads, but they're doing work on a state road, but staging on village roads. So they also initially proposed that they were going to work on the weekends, and we took that off the table, and they agreed with us. So we have to look at the timing of the traffic lights. It's going to be, and as much as I hate to say this, the pedestrians are going to the pedestrians in South Mosier and Maine during the construction period, or for the whole period, that could go on into August, they're going to have to be inconvenienced to some extent because there is no place to put the cars. If they're bottlenecked at Kisco Avenue and 133 and Maple, with that traffic light, we got to look at the timing again. But the big bottleneck is at South Mosier, North Mosier, and Main Street. So we have to put the DOT on notice.
Mayor, I just want to add to that, if you don't mind, just that it was the completion date that they have said is July 24th. I just think the public should know that the date. Again, you're probably right. Might end in August, but
what we did, Tom, is I used my experience working with Con Edison and the village manager's experience. We're limiting their work hours.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
They're not going to start before 9, and they're going to try to end at 2:30 every day. The project will be extended.
Right. I also thank you for recommending whether they take us up on it, and do it in midnight hours is their business. But you did the best you can.
We talked about that, and I think Ed and I are in agreement that because there's so many residential houses,
it'd be a disruption and loud. I'm
the
sure
overnight's not going to work.
Yeah. So typically 9 to 2:30, right after school ends, hopefully until no later than.
Well,
July
they won't be
24th.
doing anything until July, right?
No, I know. That's what I mean. And they're proposing to finish by July 24th. I'm just.
Okay, Jonathan, again, this is for you because you were at the meeting. I generally don't bring up negative things, but I have to bring this stuff up. 513 Lexington Avenue in that area, this is during the holiday weekend. Early settlement trails, male individuals observed consuming alcoholic beverages. One was known to have a warrant. The police officers detained him. They checked his information on their database. They found more active warrants for trespass. The individual, and again, this is what we're facing, has had 5 previous arrests, 18 calls for service, and 20 summonses issued to him. Obviously, back on the street in no time at all. Another incident, the same weekend, separate individuals behind the mobile station at the Lexington and Maine. He had an active warrant, an active bench warrant for resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and obstruction of governmental administration. 10 previous arrests, 28 calls for service, and 20 summonses issued back on the street. We have to find a solution to this. Officers on patrol, South Mosier and Kirby, recognized subject to have warrants outstanding, ran his information, 6 active bench warrants back on the street. My opinion, the cops are out there doing their job, and I made the statement, and I was taken to task for it. I made the statement that the police officers could be doing more. And what I said in that thing and what I meant is they could be doing more, but they need the cooperation of all involved. And that's what Tom Luzio spoke about, Lexington Recovery. But John, something has to change. Even in New Jersey, on these low-level offenses, they just don't, turn them loose. So we have to talk to somebody in Albany about what's going on here and what we're facing. Because this turnstile justice where there is no justice, and the people that are summoned or arrested, they're taking advantage and boasting about the process, that nothing's going to happen to me, telling the police officers, issue all the paper you want. So we don't have to discuss it tonight, but I appreciate something on that. And the other thing, my son-in-law in the House of Representatives sent me an article in Maryland about the catastrophic issue with the condition of bridges and roadways. Now, Duffy, the Commissioner of Transportation, had a meeting with a committee, a transportation committee, about financing. And I think we should send a letter to commit, the whatever his title is. Is it Sean Duffy? I think we should send a letter to his office talking about what we're going through between New York State DOT and the MTA. This is like 8 years, 9 years we've been talking about this, and I think the people in Washington ought to know, because it's not unique to Mount Kisco. These bridges are failing in different parts of the country, and some of the people in the article, if I can find it, they're not wasting government money, but they're facing reality that some of these bridges, especially in the rural areas of America, are in worse condition than what we have. But we're impacted significantly by this, as are other communities. So let's just food for thought. So, and John, we have a lot of work to do, and if I have to, I'll get back to you on some of these things.
Mayor, the secretary has the opportunity to support us. The village, as you recall, submitted the grant funding application to USDOT for their build program for the additional funding we need for the bridge.
Well,
and that program is available through the infrastructure bill that was passed a few years ago that made that funding available, which provides actually the state a good chunk of the Bridge New York funding that we're getting. So, but there's an opportunity there for USDOT and the secretary to provide some additional funding. And you forwarded along the additional one that just opened up from Federal Highway. We'll look to submit there as well.
And the thing I didn't bring up when I was talking about the bridge work, you made the observation to me when we were having the debate about what's going on with the design, that the design that A1 Engineering set forth and approved back in 2021 comports with federal standards, and the bridges all over the country, except probably a few like New York who haven't revised their standards in a while. So now we could be suffering. And when I say we, the taxpayers of Mount Kisco.
That's a conversation we also have had with both Assemblyman Burdick and Senator Harcum, that not only do we want DOT to turn their review around quickly, but we also need them to increase their Bridge New York award to cover any increased cost from the redesign of the abutments as requested.
Okay, well, if you would keep us informed on a projected date to get this project out for bid, I think the public would appreciate it. I know I would.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question about the folks with the open summonses? The folks with so many bench warrants or warrants out. So trespassing is not a violation.
No, There's criminal trespass, which is a misdemeanor, and trespass is a violation, if I remember right.
Well, in addition, I heard resisting arrest, which is clearly a misdemeanor. So
Yes.
in what you were saying, there were at least some crimes that I heard.
Yeah.
So then what is the difference between criminal trespass and the
That's why
violation
that's why I
trespass?
asked Jonathan to work with the district attorney's office
Okay.
on that particular case. I don't have any names or anything like that. I just asked what was going on over the 3-day weekend, and that's the response I got.
We shouldn't be talking about names anyway, but John, just we talked about this a couple of different times here, and the mayor was part of the conversation. Just when you do get a misdemeanor, or when you see it, or your folks are in court, just tell us. We'll lobby the district attorney if they can get these folks into programs through having a misdemeanor hanging over their heads. They'll do it, but we have to tell them.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Mr. Mayor, what you were talking about is a combination of what Trustee Luzio is talking about, but you have both the district attorney, but you also have the judges. When someone's brought in on a warrant, it's really up to the court to determine whether or not that person is released on his own recognizance, set bail, or set bail high enough that the person is retained in incarceration. There's just different levels. I'm not sure. There are some levels I think that this board can address, and there are other levels that I think that separation would mandate that need to be addressed by that by that branch of government. But certainly conversations with prosecutorial powers is appropriate, I think.
I mean, excuse my I guess ignorance on the subject, but if it would seem to me that there should be protocols in place that somebody doesn't have 20 open bench warrants. That is certainly quite egregious, right? At least to me. So why would it? I just don't understand why that person would have the option to be released on their own recognizance.
Yeah, so I don't know the answer because I don't know the particulars, but what I can tell you is ultimately, and I know Trustee Luzio knows this as well, ultimately the decision about release, bail, or remand, which wouldn't be in this instance, that would be for a felony, is up to the court. And it's in the court's discretion to do that.
We talked about this before again a little bit, and I don't want to belabor this too long because we have said it before. When they're represented by counsel, if they were represented by counsel when the warrant was issued on a criminal offense, then there's a possibility of a bail jumping charge. Otherwise, without counsel, without the misdemeanor, it's going to be almost impossible to prove those cases. So, just it's a legal standard that we're up against. It's bail that doesn't really exist in most of these cases. But part of the reason why I've talked so much about getting caseworkers there is in an appropriate case that can be referred to the district attorney's office with follow-up from a caseworker, lobbying the district attorney's office to get this person into some sort of treatment program, be it mental health, drug treatment, or alcohol treatment. Then what happens if that individual fails out of one of those three programs? Then incarceration is always on the table. That's the treatment court model.
Right, but that's also an assumption that you're making about the folks, whoever is coming through, is that there is something else that is going on, whether it be mental health or alcoholism, that may not be the case.
That may not be the case.
So if that's not the case, then then what are we doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm as I understand it, failure to appear on a bench warrant, and when the bench warrant is issued, the police officer's under the obligation to have him arraigned again, which, again, takes the police officer, which we get complaints about, off the street for doing paperwork for about 3 hours.
3 or 4 hours.
The county, for whatever reason, and I guess it's written that way, they don't fund public defenders for violations.
Well,
It's a county
Mr. Mayor, let me just chime in. I'm sorry to interrupt. A couple of things. Number one is I do want to stress the importance, because I spoke before, what I said before, I do want to stress the importance of prosecutorial discretion and prosecutorial independence. That aside, there are two types of court that are going on in this village. One, and it changes just from 1 minute to the next. It looks the same, but it's different. The first court is code enforcement. And code enforcement, the district attorney does not handle. Code enforcement are not crimes, they're code violations. When the penal law is violated, that is either a violation or a crime, but that the district attorney handles. And when I say the court changes from one moment to the next, it's just because they go through a calendar of code violations. When they're done, they start with the penal law violations, and you may not even notice that it's changed, except the district attorney does handle the penal law violations. And again, that can be a violation, that can be a misdemeanor, or that could be a felony, although felonies are not really handled at this court in the village. The main distinction that's relevant, I think, for what we're talking about is that for code violations, in the code enforcement section, there's no defense attorney appointed. There's no necessarily right to counsel. And so things like, drug programs and things like that, I think that it's harder to I guess, let's say, hang possible jail time over someone's head so they'll go and get help without having a defense attorney there. It just doesn't sit right for a lot of the judges, is my understanding. However, when you're talking about penal law violations, the criminal court, there is a right to counsel, and that's different. So, Mr. Mayor, when you were talking about a bench warrant, the reason I bring this up is because there's two different types of bench warrants. There's either a bench warrant because of a failure to appear in a code enforcement court, which is not necessarily a crime, and then there's a bench warrant for failure to appear in the criminal court, which would be a crime and would necessitate a further arraignment.
So if I violate code and I just don't show up to court and I get a bench warrant and they come to me and I go, what are you going to do? Let's go back. And they take me back to court and I don't show up again. You're telling me it just goes on forever like that?
Not necessarily. I think what the discretion of the prosecutorial discretion would be to give what we call consecutive penalties. I'm not saying jail time, but I'm saying that if a fine for each occurrence is, and not just a fine for all the occurrences. So it does tend to snowball after a while, but you're right in that the penalties are far less severe for a code violation than it would be for a penal law violation.
Right, and if I don't have the money to pay the fines, then
Then it just may result in a civil penalty, a civil judgment, I mean.
All right, I think we the district attorney can give you more information on what we're talking about.
thank you, Mr. Nelson. Appreciate
Okay.
that.
We have no old business. We have new business. We'll make this quick. Board resolution to amend the rules of procedure. If, since it was brought up, if the rules of procedure that the deputy mayor raised, if anybody wants to change the rules of procedure pertaining to public comment, be my guest, because we're talking about a board resolution to amend the rules of procedure for just one issue right now, and that's moving up on the agenda or including in the agenda a time for the village attorney to answer questions from the village board. Is that correct?
Yes, it's an amendment to the order of business, right? So in the current rules of procedure, so that it would start with communications, petitions, my report, new business, concerns from the village attorney, followed then by board committee commission reports, board reports, old business, bills, minutes, non-local issues, public comment.
I have a
Basically-
question.
Oh, sorry.
I'm thinking that the board reports should come before concerns for the village attorney, because just like tonight, after the board reports, there was information that was triggered that we would have to ask John about. So I'm thinking that we should put our board reports at number 5 and move everything else down 1.
Well, Trustee Brown, that was specifically, the reason why I proposed this, and the reason why I proposed that in that particular order is because I felt that, well, taking a step back, I've really tried to make this position definite, efficient, effective, and focused. By putting this before the board reports, my intention was that all the comments and the questions and the concerns that may come up sporadically, ad hoc during the board reports, would be pulled beforehand and focused and delivered to me so I can address them, instead of coming up sort of, on a whim or on a lark. I want to make sure that it's definite and focused. So I purposely put them before.
So theoretically, under this format, something that was on my mind in a board report, I could bring up during questions for village attorney.
That's right. That's
Great.
exactly right. I want to make sure that they're addressed specifically, not during a report, but during a purposeful Q&A session.
In which you'd be helped if we gave you advance notice, about the same time you give us our notice of what you get on Friday, Thursday, Friday.
That would help, but I think on my feet, and I'll be happy to answer questions even without advance notice.
Okay, before we entertain this, there are more than just moving up the village attorney or inserting the concerns for village attorney. We've gotten rid of reports of special committees, and in my board report, actually piggybacking on what Trustee Luzio was talking about, I think perhaps we might want to consider other changes here, that being inviting our committees, our chairs of our committees, to periodically, once every 6 months, once a year, report to us. I think we used to do that, and have the Leonard Park Committee come and tell us what's doing in the park. Have the CAC talk to us about where they're headed and what's going on. I think that would, and economic development. I think that would be an incredibly useful use of everybody's time, and it also brings the focus, and more folks may want to volunteer once they see what these committees are doing. So I'd like to see that retained.
Mayor Schleimer,
it is.
It's in number 6. I made sure all of the sections that were in the previous section 14 were retained verbatim. So
Okay,
it's in number 6, and that's the way it is in the code.
I mean, I also think that old business ought to come before the village attorney. I think this needs a little more work. I would suggest that we talk about it before we pass it.
I'm comfortable right here after that one question, but I do agree with Trustee Schleimer that we should, Deputy Mayor Schleimer, that twice a year seems appropriate, and limit those presentations to 15 minutes or something like that. I think that's very appropriate, and obviously there'll be ad hoc issues that do come up, Karen, but I still think it's appropriate. But I'm prepared to vote on this right now, as is.
I think having old business before also
Makes
warrants
sense.
some consideration, absolutely. So if we do new business, old business, could we vote on it amended to move old business up after new business?
I don't think we've had old business on.
Then why would it matter if we moved it then,
I don't know.
right?
I just think that
If it's an old business, I mean, very often it has to do with some litigation or something that's lingering. So we may very well want attorney response to that. I think it's important.
old business has always been one before new business.
Right.
So if that's where you'd like to keep that, that's fine. With respect to requests from the committees and commissions of the village board has always had the opportunity and the ability to request the report from any of them at any point in time. So
I
whoever
would-
you'd like to hear from,
I'd
we
like,
can do that.
I'd like to extend an invitation. It also gives us an opportunity to say thank you
Sure.
to the volunteers who spend so much time. We get to see their faces. We get to see what they're doing.
Sure.
I think it's a great idea. And
Any
we
month
did
but
it.
April and May, where it's budget all the time. But any other than those 2 months, I agree with you 100%.
So maybe we'll send out a little note inviting people to come.
Lizette, if you'd want to send me the chairs of the special committees, I'm happy to write an email to them and just invite them to
So
come to the
I'll
board
make this
meetings.
motion, and I'll make it amended. 8 becomes 4, and everything else moves down 1.
You want old business before new business?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Anything else on the question? Mr. Brancotti?
Trustee Lucio.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Schleimer. Trustee Bryant. Trustee Brown. Mayor Sindrich.
Aye. Okay, this is to schedule the public referendum on the agenda, so this is timely. The public referendum has to be on the ballot, and I don't know what your date is, Mr. Brancotti, but generally it's the beginning of July.
By the end of July, we have to have everything into the Board of Elections. So we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room here. But this is proposed amendments to the length of service award program for the volunteer members of the Mount Kisco Volunteer Ambulance Corps. As you recall, adjustments were made to the length of service award program for members of the Mount Kisco Volunteer Fire Department a number of years ago that also required ballot referendum from the public that was placed on that November's general election. So the Ambulance Corps has made a request, and members are here. Certainly welcome to speak to it. But the request is to amend the program, the points that can be earned for a number of different items to bring them consistent with New York State General Municipal Law, which has been amended that increased the maximum allowable points for certain activities that currently exist in the length of service award program, but it increases the level of points that one can obtain for those activities. And so this amendment is to bring our program consistent with the state law, and but any change to the point system or the program not only would require your board's approval through the resolution, but then also requires public referendum and the public's approval at the general election in November.
This July 13th, is that too late to take care of the business that you need to take care of? Or do we have to do this on the next meeting?
I think the preference would be to
Next meeting?
to have enough
Okay.
time for notice for there's the abstracts that need to be prepared for Board of Elections, both in English and
Right.
Spanish. So there's a number of things that go
Okay.
into this beyond that.
I would ask the village manager to prepare a memo for the village board outlining exactly what the changes are to the program, so that it's sort of targeted to tell us exactly what the changes are.
In the resolution.
We went through this,
Several weeks ago, right?
and it is all in the resolution. And as I understand what was presented in the work session or at the previous village board meeting, that there was no significant cost to the taxpayers.
No, sir.
Yeah, we received that
Is that correct?
presentation.
Yes, sir. And this has been reviewed by the actuarial firm Penflex that works with us to administer the length of service award program for both the fire department and the ambulance corps. But I think again, the important note here is, and these are the changes, and this is it, that it is, again, to current maximum point allegations and categories permitted under General Municipal Law, Section 219E, including increasing the maximum annual points for training from 15 to 25, increasing the maximum annual points for drills, seminars, and meeting attendance from 10 to 20, and increasing the tour of duty credit calculation from 1/4 of a point for a 6-hour period to 1/6 of a point per hour. That's it.
Okay.
So what's the objection of approving this tonight?
You need a public referendum.
We have to put it on for a public referendum on June 15th. Is that what you're saying?
No.
No. We have to vote on it by June 15th.
The approving of this resolution, as you'll see further down,
It's just to get it on the ballot.
is to put it on the ballot. Your resolution approving it allows this question: should this amendment to the point system to increase and bring it consistent
And it
with
goes on
state
the
general
ballot.
municipal law be presented to the voters to approve or deny at the November general election? That's it.
Okay, so we could do this tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
It won't actually. It again, just as we did with the volunteer fire, with the amendments to the length of service award program for the volunteer fire department. The board adopted a resolution that went on to we submit everything that's required for a ballot proposition to the county board of elections. It gets put on the ballot. Voters decide yes or no, and then based on those results, it's either put into effect or not.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And in this instance, as with the one to the fire department, the depending on once there's a certification of the election, it would go into effect the following January 1st, or in this case, January 1st of 27.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Anything on the question? Before you vote, I just want to make a disclosure. We're not approving anything this evening. We're only approving putting the request that was made by the Volunteer Ambulance Corps to revise the LoSAP program on the ballot for the voters to approve. Why I'm citing this, I am currently a life member of the Volunteer Ambulance Corps. I'm not a member of the LoSAP, which I could have joined back when we ever approved this in 2005 or 6. I never chose to, and I will never have enough time to make the points anyway. So, but I am a member, and I do support the Ambulance Corps.
For the record, the resolution was reviewed by Penflex, our actuarial firm, by the village attorney, and myself, and it is recommended.
And just to be clear, this is protocol. It says in the resolution that we vote on this resolution to put it on the ballot. This is a way that it has to go through the process.
Correct.
And then the voters vote on whether or not this happens.
This is in accordance with state law.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Mercati.
Trustee Bryant.
Aye.
Trustee Luzio.
Aye.
Trustee Brown. Deputy Mayor Schlemmer.
I'm going to abstain.
Mayor Sindrich.
Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to authorize the village attorney to execute the agreement with an index number 59296/2021. Are we precluded from speaking about this settlement, or is it?
No, I don't think so. Let me give a bit of background. Mayor Sindrich, I know you're familiar with this. There was both a Supreme Court case, state Supreme Court case with Marsh Sanctuary, as well as an appellate court case. There was actually, there was 2 Supreme Court cases and an appellate case from one of them. We were successful in one of them, and we were successful in the appellate court case. This concerns the other one, which really, at its core was a case regarding a FOIL request. The FOIL request case resulted in a judgment against us for attorney's fees, not a merit-based judgment, but a judgment for attorney's fees. That judgment was for $41,000 and change, which from the moment the judgment was entered, continued to accrue interest at statutory rate of 9%. Notwithstanding, I was able to negotiate a resolution for both of the appellate court case, I should say, where we were granted a $3,000 bill of costs, and the $41,000 judgment against us, I was able to resolve it for a single payment from the village for $25,000. That's what this document does.
Both cases.
Both cases
Are done.
What it doesn't do, Mr. Mayor, and I know you had brought this up, and I'm not familiar with the details, but I understand there's a marsh sanctuary application going through. Where's it going through? I might have misspoke. I thought there was an application pending that I didn't know about it, but that's not this.
Well, it was part and parcel to the, how this originally evolved. There was allegations made that the permitting solar farms on certain properties within the village were in fact spot zoning, and we prevailed on that case.
Yes. That's I think to the village attorney's point, that is the case that we prevailed on, both in Supreme Court and then at the appellate court, right? So that the village was successful in every instance in that matter, in that aspect of it. To the village attorney's point, there was a separate action brought with respect to a FOIL.
And this predates myself.
Yes, sir.
And predates me as well.
And
The only one
predates
that would have been to acknowledge
four
would be
of the
Karen.
5 members of the current board.
Look, thank you for your diligence, your hard work, and the reduction, saving 13,000 or whatever it was.
And I think
or
spans
It just-
16,000.
It just hurts that you prevail and you're paying attorney's fees.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't want you.
It hurts when you prevail in a case and you're paying attorney's fees.
True, although just to be clear, the attorney's fees were not on the case we prevailed on. That was on the FOIL request case.
And that was never appealed.
That was never appealed. In fact, I believe the board voted to discontinue the appeal.
There
on
was
that
an
case.
appeal that was started. The board voted to discontinue that appeal. Was it last year? It's last year, before you.
Yeah. It was never, Deputy Mayor, it was never perfected. There was just a notice of appeal, but the Board of Trustees voted to withdraw it.
As someone that this predates, could we get, I would really appreciate a timeline, what has already occurred within this, a little bit more background information.
Sure. So, Trustee Bryant, everything has already occurred. But let me
Yes.
tell you, really, with regard to the $41,000 attorney's fees, let me just describe to you a little bit about what I understand happened. There was a FOIL request made to the village, which the village objected to. There was litigation that ensued with regard to that FOIL request, which Marsh Sanctuary's parties prevailed. Pursuant to the FOIL law, they were entitled to attorney's fees. The judge who oversaw the FOIL litigation heard testimony or took papers, I think it was on papers, and determined that the Marsh Sanctuary parties were entitled to $41,000 plus in attorney's fees for the pendency of that litigation. That order was reduced to a judgment. And the important thing about a judgment is that once it's entered, it starts taking a statutory 9% interest rate. Separate and apart from that, which again has already concluded, Marsh Sanctuary sought, and again, I don't know the particulars because it predated as we've discussed, almost all of us, sought to do X, Y, Z on certain property. And the village objected to it, and their lawsuit ensued. The village prevailed on that. So the village won. The Marsh Sanctuary parties appealed that, and the Second Department Appellate Division affirmed the village's win. Said that, the lower court was right. And what resulted from that was what's called a bill of costs. So certain times an appellate court will say, affirmed with costs. And what that means is there's statutes where the prevailing party can get, and it's really minimal, $100 here under this statute, $400 there. And in this case, it all added up to $3,000 in costs that the village was awarded. And so if you look at it this way, the village had a judgment for $3,000 coming to it. The Marsh Sanctuary parties had a judgment for $41,000 going to that. And what this document did was it said, we'll just resolve all of it for one check from the village to the Marsh Sanctuary parties for $25,000.
So there's no more time to appeal. Our time to appeal has run.
Yes.
Basically, the decision's been made by the court. The judgment was entered, and the settlement was negotiated. I mean, there's no place to go.
There's really no place to go, but when I say the settlement has been negotiated, obviously it hasn't been signed, because that's what we're seeking to do now. But yes, everything else, Deputy Mayor, what you said was accurate.
Okay,
Any other
and
members, the other
I
boards?
assume that the attorney's fees were reviewed by somebody. I mean, 40,000's quite, it's just for costs, or?
The $41,000 judgment was for their attorney's fees, and that was ordered by a judge after looking through.
She knocked it back too. They wanted more.
Yeah, I think, yes, it was Judge Murphy, I believe, in the Supreme Court. And I think they asked for significantly more. She gave them 40, whatever the number is, 41,000 and change.
This is a FOIL request. $40,000 in legal fees is
I-
very, very juicy.
Again, I don't disagree, but that's,
Trustee Slimer,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Slimer, I remember this going on long before I was even on the board. So these legal fees go back
years.
the September of 22, I believe. So these are 3 years of legal fees that the judge ordered that we were responsible to pay on that FOIL request.
Goes back to village attorneys too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That should be noted. Goes back.
No, it's before your time, no
To
question
two
about it.
before, John.
But it's still a very hefty.
Yeah.
But I guess the bottom line is, aside from going back to renegotiate, there's no other option here.
No, and I'm satisfied that we got, I think, the best,
good as
as good
it's
as we're
gonna
going to
get.
get. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, the net, we saved $13,000.
I think this
Basically, we're screwed.
these claims also included other parties, Village Planning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals. They have also seen this and right,
Yes, they
have
have.
approved
They've
it
approved it.
and are amenable to it.
But it also leaves me with quite a large question of not having been here as to why the FOIL was rejected or denied in the first place. I mean, this is
wasn't.
probably.
I don't think the FOIL was rejected.
It wasn't.
I think it was the timeliness of
Nope.
disclosing it.
No, it was not that either.
Then
The FOIL was requested and a disclosure was made in accordance with FOIL. They were not satisfied with that disclosure. They wanted more that they felt they were entitled to. And in consultation with the village attorney, those were considered advisory, right? Because there was an advisory that is advisory to the village board. The village board didn't accept that advice. Normally, an opinion would be accepted sort of lock, stock, and barrel. In this case, it wasn't, and the village board took all of that information, and at the village board at the time, not this board, village board at the time, rendered and issued its own determination based on that, consistent with it, but much shorter, and rendered that opinion. That was the final determination. And so based on, in consultation with the village attorney and all the other case law and information was, yes, That is the final product. That is what one is entitled to on FOIL, because that is the final determination, not this draft or that draft or what anybody thought. It's not final until the board makes that determination, which the village board did, and that's what was disclosed as requested.
I think that what people need to understand, there was a final determination by the ethics board, and that recommendation was submitted to the village board in writing. That was the basis of the village board's decision, and what was disclosed was a much shorter, limited decision by the village board, because what was binding was the decision of the village board. The ethics board's advisory opinion was just that. It was advisory for the village board to accept or reject or modify. And so that's really what happened.
So when the request came in for the determination, the final determination that was approved by the board is what was disclosed. We followed the law. The decision, the opinion is what it is. We simply disagree with it. But
I mean, as unhappy as I am that the village is stuck with this bill, and I unfortunately would have preferred that we appeal it, that is no longer an option. And so I will make a motion to accept the settlement, because I think we don't have much other choice.
Is there a second
I'll second.
on the question? Mr. Brancotti?
Deputy Mayor Slimer,
Aye.
Trustee Luziano.
Aye.
Trustee Bryant. What's that?
Is it on? Okay. Oy. I'm going to abstain. I feel like I don't have
Trustee
the
Brown?
information necessary.
Mayor Sandrich.
It predates
Sure.
me, and I understand it was very contentious, and I'm just going to ask the village attorney if, without spending a lot of time, if there's anything in the ethics law or in our FOIL procedures that should be changed so something like this doesn't happen again.
Sure, I'll take a look.
And just to put it out there, we need volunteers for our ethics board.
Okay,
Bills?
we have the bills to approve. What's before us is a resolution to approve claims for payment for the general fund, 501,296, water fund, 62,365, sewer fund, $156,681, library fund, $21,970, capital fund, $121,455, and the trust fund, $7,631, for a grand total of $871,400. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
On the question.
Anybody else want to go?
Well, I just have one thing. I saw the amount for the road salt, which is quite high. Do you have it in front of you? I don't have it's Atlantic,
Yep.
is that right?
Yep. $17,162.33.
Right. So it spurred me to ask our treasurer for the past 10 years of road salt payments in total, and just to say that it is, so that everyone knows, it is in line. We have paid I'll estimate this, $844,000 over a decade for road salt. So some of those years are high, some of those years are low. This year was higher. There was also a lot more snow, but it's also based on New York State contract, correct? And then how much salt will actually fit into the dome. So this year has been like 2,000 higher than last year, but even in 2022, we were still over $90,000 in road salt. So just wanted to let everyone know, in case you also thought it was quite large.
Just in connection with that, I had a question. The first item on the Atlantic salt said price adjustment for salt. We're only talking $852. I just was wondering why there was a price adjustment.
Consistent with the state contract. The contract allows there's adjustment under the contract. So,
It's a commodity that has to deal with shortages.
correct.
There you go. I guess there was a shortage of road salt this year. Okay, on page 2 of 20, we have a bunch of classes for CDL licenses, ELDT training, and reimbursed for CDL license. I just wanted to ask for which department is this for DPW?
Yes.
And this is always reimbursable, correct?
Yes, under the contract, yes. They don't need a CDL for their own well-being. We need them to have CDLs.
Okay. Okay, page 3 of 20, this is really a note to self. We have Cablevision Light Path service. I'm not questioning the amount, but I did want to ask if you could get me a copy of our Cablevision contract, so maybe we can kick some butt over there to try to improve the service so that our folks can watch it on television. On page 3 of 20, we have Cherry Industrial Inc. Canopy Shelter Ship Container 2002-90. Can you give us details, please?
Yep. So that was just a canopy. We've DPW to get again more things covered and out of the elements. So they repurposed 2 existing storage shipping containers that we have that are down there, and then have added a canopy between the 2 so we can put more equipment under it and keep that stuff protected and covered.
Okay, I thought we spent money a bunch of years ago to expand the storage facilities at DPW. It's now still inadequate?
It is full. We have stuff we're holding, we're trying to get rid of as well. But yeah, we just did not enough room sometimes.
Okay, same page, Colin J. Shimmerhorn, Deposit Repair, St. Mark's Cemetery, $1,875. Can you tell us why we're paying for the cemetery?
This is the restoration of the headstones. So a portion of this has been done, one phase was done, was it last year, 2 years ago? They'd like to continue with that work. And so this is this historical society and landmark preservation working
Okay, very helpful.
to preserve those headstones.
Okay, page 5 of 20, we have our village attorney, a bunch of different bills for different reasons, totaling $72,422. I'm in the process of reviewing those bills. I actually have a lot of questions on them. I would request that we hold off on that till we've had a chance to discuss them with our attorney.
I had similar questions, but it looks like that, if you don't mind me just tacking on here, Karen, is that it looked like that was outside the scope of the, all these other items were outside the scope of our retainer because they were litigation in general. Is that what the majority of those bills are?
Yes.
including the marsh sanctuary that we just discussed, et cetera, et cetera.
My questions have to do with the amounts. My questions have to do with the personnel that are being assigned.
That's fine. My suggestion might be we can pull everything except the April retainer. I think
Yeah.
maybe
Fine,
make the
that's
April
fine.
retainer
Just
payment, but
send it to me as well, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
we can have them. Yeah, we can.
Thanks.
Did we put them? I think they are all actually.
It's already in Dropbox.
They are in Dropbox, and I think did we get you hard copies
I
too?
have them.
Okay, so they're in Dropbox for everybody.
Yeah, the money we spent on Marsh Sanctuary outweighs any successful negotiation. So sometimes, I think what the last attorney said, you're going to waste money if you appeal it and then move on. So in any event, the cases that continue to bother me are the Marsh case and the Morton case, because the Morton case, I'm expecting to get court costs on that and attorney's fees.
Yeah, and our litigation fees are very high.
And penalty and interest.
I mean, there are several items for Marsh litigation on this list.
Yeah, this should be the end of it.
Okay, page 9 of 26, we have Mebco healthcare insurance, and I'm just putting it out there for the public so they know what we're talking about when we say this is a huge expense. This is across all the different categories. For the general bills, it's $180,065.45. Across all the different categories, it's $230,891.81. I had asked the village manager to go over with me the retiree insurance, because I felt that what we were paying per person for what we were getting was very high. And I wonder, I mean, the numbers, obviously huge. I don't know if there's any choice or any other thing we can do.
This isn't the retirees,
No, I know.
Right.
No, I'm aware that this is the employees.
the active employees, right?
Right.
And those not, and those that are not either Medicare eligible or.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Right.
The question
Right,
is,
and and just for the record, we've requested, I'm pulling all that together between our brokers for, that you requested on the retirees.
okay,
So-
but my question is, have we looked at or evaluated whether, with respect to our current employees, whether there's any other alternative, or you've looked at it, you're convinced this is absolutely what we should have? It's just a huge number, and
This is the village has been part of the MEPCO consortium since its inception. It is self-insured with a consortium of other municipalities, a couple of school districts. It is a large pool. It is growing. It is similar, so it is preferable to NISHIP, to which everybody is. A lot of other municipalities are with, but. In that instance, and a lot of the communities that are in NISHIP will experience 20 and 22% increases in premiums annually. They'll get some years where it's a double-digit increase, and then other years, it's flat, but then they'll come back with another huge increase. The self-insured, the model, and with everybody that we have, and the way it's been adjusted and evolved over time with a shared working layer, and then excess coverage beyond certain claims. So we cover the first 100,000. Anything from 100 to 400,000 is a shared working layer, the captive layer, and then anything beyond that is covered by the excess carrier. So when we have a large claim, and we've had some large claims, the last couple of years have been tough.
I know that.
But we have But that coverage, that excess insurance kicks in, and that comes back to us to reduce our exposure. And that working layer is shared, and so that also works to reduce our exposure. So
Okay, but basically my question is, we have looked at this recently enough that we're comfortable that this is the best we're going to do.
correct.
Okay, that was the extent of my question. Page 12 of 20, I keep asking about this, our translation service for the Board of Trustees meeting. It's only $525, but we've been talking about whether there is some translation service, since this is not being utilized significantly, whether there's an alternative, and we never seem to get an answer on that.
Didn't we discontinue this?
It's been discontinued, so this is for the last May meeting. That translation is not occurring this evening,
Okay.
and is not
well,
occurring going forward.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm delighted. As long as what alternative we're using is satisfactory to provide the translation service. We're not using anything, okay?
Due to the utilization referenced earlier.
And it won't be live, but after the meetings are over, they'll be uploaded to YouTube using an AI translation tool. So there
Okay,
will be a translation, just won't be live.
okay. And I would ask, because I'm not, sufficient to take a listen, is the AI translation model, is it good? I mean, does it,
It's printed, it's not audio.
right, but it's accurate.
We have to pay someone to review that, which we can.
Well, we certainly should do it at least once to see whether it really works, because I'm not capable of doing that. Okay.
Could I add that in the newsletter?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, I already did that. Okay, and back here on page 17 is my, we've already discussed retiree health care. Again, across all the different things, it's $49,251.85. So we will continue to look at that and see what we can come up with. All right, water. In the water bills on page 2 of 4, we have Terra Close Apartment Corp. refund water bill $14,097.77. And my question is why?
Hang on a second.
It's on page 2
Yeah,
of
no,
4.
I gotta get there.
Towards the second from the bottom. Third from
Scroll
the
one
bottom.
slower. Hang on a second.
Nobody at Terra Close showered.
Hang on. No. Just got out of order.
Was that a malfunctioning meter or a,
Paid us twice.
or an issue with
That's probably
the meter not being read and when it was finally read?
Oh, that's a full payment. That's not a leak, or it wasn't a leak because we didn't. They didn't come to me. So, you know what? We'll pull that. I have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. In the capital, this is just where are we? We have Peter J. Lynn's, the streetscape, sidewalk improvements, less retainage, $119,615.45. And how much more have we got?
I'd have to check. I have to check the pay app and see what the balance remains. But they are making progress. They are still on budget from the award amount. So they're making their way. At the request of the village planner, there were 4 trees that were on Kirby Plaza that had not leafed out. Were not doing well. So he asked that they be removed. They will be replanted. with the native trees consistent with the rest of the plan. They have the sidewalks in on the eastern side of Kirby Plaza. Along those businesses, they are working on they're setting the pavers as they make their way around down Kirby Plaza and back to South Mosier. They're also working on the interior of the Clock Plaza Island in Kirby Plaza. So they're moving along. They probably maybe another 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, I think by the end of July we should be done. But
Okay, I did have one question that doesn't relate to any of this. We now have EV chargers in the South Mosier parking lot, quite a number of them, like 8 of them facing the Turk.
Mhm.
Did we pay for those?
no, that's funding from Westchester County, a combination of Westchester County, NYSERDA reimbursements. So
Do we have any feel for whether they're actually being used?
they're not fully operational yet. We're waiting on Con Ed.
Okay.
So we don't need to pull the Terra Close is a double payment that went through the direct debit. They paid through direct debit, and then somebody also mailed a check, so they double paid us.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? The work that Landy's doing, the main sewer line replacement, will any of his work be affected? I know it'll be affected in Shoppers Park minimally, but none of we're not anticipating doing any paving that will be torn up during the sewer line project.
No, the project. Look, we've done some paving, obviously, on Lexington and Lido, right? That will as we cross. But we have purposely withheld resurfacing in the village center lot until this project is completed. Because the line does run, as you know, sir, and as you mentioned, as it comes through Shoppers Park from Green Street on the western side of the Branch Brook through the parking lot, the part of the parking lot this side of that center island strip, as it moves out, as it crosses underneath Main Street, up through Jeff Fiegel past the Legion. But it stays on the west side of the Branch Brook as it moves through that area. But yes, when the work is done, then the village center lot will be resurfaced at the conclusion of that project.
Okay. The sewer line was built in 1908.
It's wood.
All right. Anyone else?
Are we getting pieces of that for the Historical Society?
Yeah, we'll probably we'll put a couple sections in a case, a hermetically sealed case, so nobody contracts anything as a result of being near it. I'm sure we can come up with something.
All right,
Sure.
there you go.
And New York City paid for it.
Yeah. I think we actually still have a section too from the 100-plus-year-old Barham Lake main that was replaced too, so we can put them side by side.
Okay, anyone else?
No.
Mr. Brancotti?
Deputy Mayor Schleimer.
Aye.
Trustee Brown. Trustee Bryant.
Aye.
Trustee Luzio.
Aye.
Mayor Sendrich.
Approval of the minutes for April 6, 2026.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
On the question? Mr. Brancotti?
Trustee Luzio.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Schleimer.
Aye.
Trustee Bryant. Trustee Brown. Mayor Sendrich.
May I have one moment? I got an email that just regarding an upcoming event that's kind of special. If Matt, I might have a moment to announce it.
Yeah, we do it during public comment?
Well, we're about ready to start that, so I thought this is the appropriate time.
Public comment.
All right. So, for those of you who are Civil War buffs, the Mount Kisco Historical Society presents a walking tour of Oakwood Cemetery's 50 Civil War veterans memorials, led by Ross Porter. It's on Sunday, June 14th, 2026 at 1 p.m. You can park behind the caretaker's house at 304 Lexington Avenue. Thanks, Mayor.
It's Father's Day. Is it?
For your history buffs,
What?
history buff dads.
Public comment?
Bob Liebman, 60 Barker Street. As Trustee Luzio said, he met with John Rhodes and myself to discuss problems with the Climate Smart Communities Task Force with regard to implementing the Climate Action Plan, which we finally completed, and the final, final draft or final took several years, but it's finally done. So our problem is now, can we implement it? I think we identified two main problems that we have. The first is that we need a chairman. We haven't had a chairman since 2020 when the task force was formed. It was formed from the, Energy Advisory Panel, and the chairman of that panel, David Matzel, was made the chairman of the Climate Task Force when the transition was made. Shortly after the first meeting, tragically, he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away pretty quickly. And so that was, and he's never been replaced. I knew him. I served with him on the Conservation Advisory Council for several years previous to that, and so we haven't had really a official chairman, and I think that's really necessary. I wouldn't say we've needed it the last few years because we've basically done virtual meetings with a consultant with ICLEI, who helped us with the climate. They wrote the Climate Action Plan. But going forward, I think we absolutely have to have a chairman who can call meetings and set an agenda. I think we absolutely need it. We also, the second big problem is we need more active members. We really, I would say at most we have three. Three of us participated. We did two documents, the Climate Action Plan and a document on adaptation about the risk of climate, the risks involved with climate from Mount Kisco. And basically, for the Climate Action Plan, basically it was just two people basically from the committee were involved. The staff did a lot. The staff and us basically worked with ICLEI, the people from ICLEI, and they wrote these documents. So that's I think are the two big problems that I think need to be solved if we have any chance to really implement this plan, because we worked pretty hard getting it written.
Time, sir.
Time what?
Just 2 minutes. Finish up your last slide.
Oh, we have task force. I think identified three things for task force involvement: to facilitate electrification of transportation, heating, and energy efficiency of buildings, plus other actions. That would be one thing we could do. Participate in assessing the progress, including additional greenhouse gas inventories, and working with staff to achieve a Climate Smart Communities Silver certification. We made the bronze. We got bronze certification in 2020, and our goal was to get silver, which we get points for doing a lot of actions involved with climate from the state, and we haven't got silver. So I think that's one thing we could work on. And finally, it can be Climate action will be downloaded from our site on the village website, the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. And just briefly, the overall goal of the climate action plan, I would say, is to reach net zero emissions by 2050. And reaching that earlier would be better, but a good part of the emissions reduction will come from New York State making the electrical grid 100% renewable energy. And hopefully they'll get that done by that time, probably earlier. But most of the reduction will be come from actions taken by members of the community. So it's really up to us. The Mount Kisco community is going to have to get this done. We're going to have to take action. So that's.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much.
It.
Please follow up with another email, if you don't mind. I know you did one already, and we'll share.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could just poll the members that are on the committee and see if anyone's interested in serving as a chairperson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your patience. It's been a long night, I know. I'd just like to follow up on something that Bob said, and maybe make it a little bit more to the point that the climate action plan, we've been working on that for several years. Before that, on the John Rhodes 25 Stewart Place, I'm sorry. And before that, the greenhouse gas inventory and the adaptation plan and so on. And I think that with all the other things that have been going on, we've kind of forgotten about those issues a little bit, but they're still just as critical. We're in the middle of a climate crisis. We're kind of insulated here in Mount Kisco because it's such a beautiful place with such good water supply and trees and so on. But I think that what might make it clearer to the members of the board and maybe the members of the public too, sure you have a lot of spare time, so you can read this detailed 36-page report in your spare time. But there is on page 1 of the report for you and for the public, or I think it's on page 1, an executive summary, which really lays the whole thing out pretty clearly. And then there are specific goals. But I think if anybody reads that executive summary, they'll get an idea of what the report's about, where we stand, and what we have to do. And that report, as Bob said, is on the village website and the Climate Smart Communities Task Force page, and it's downloadable and you can read it right there. So please do that. And just one small correction, something that's been irking me for a while, since I have an extra 30 seconds or so. There are many, many different opinions about the merits on all sides of the lawsuits regarding the 180 South Bedford. And obviously I hold one point of view, other people hold the same point of view or different ones. But in reality, it keeps getting referred to as the Marsh Sanctuary lawsuit. Now, Marsh Sanctuary was one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit, but so was the Chase Homeowners Association, who actually provided probably more of the logistical and financial support than Marsh Sanctuary did. So I'd just like everybody to know that it wasn't just some tree huggers out on Saul Street that were involved in this. There were a lot of people from the community, the whole Chase Homeowners Association, and a lot of individuals were also parties in that lawsuit. And if anybody wants to spend a couple hours talking about it, I'm available. So thank you.
Thank you.
Another 15 seconds.
Oh, I know.
Teresa Flora, 348 Spring Street. I was happy to hear an update on the pagoda. I was disappointed in that nothing's going on there. And I'm disappointed that at the beginning of that project that I heard, I think maybe you said something about an RFP for architecture or architect. I wish we had done that at the beginning. And I'm disappointed that there was no paid employee or architect supervising the job. It just seemed to be scattered throughout the whole process. I didn't hear an update on the Chase water tank, and to my knowledge, it's still online. obviously still leaking. The last time I was up there a couple of weeks ago. So it's ironic to listen to water conservation tips when that tank has been leaking for the last 4 years. The water quality report, I haven't seen it yet, but Deputy Mayor mentioned the chloride in the wells in Leonard Park. You mentioned the number. I don't have the numbers in front of me, what's high, what's what. But that's, a result of salt, road salt, fertilizer. And I know that Optum, the parking lot that's adjacent to Leonard Park, or maybe some of you don't know. And I'm happy CAC is here to hear it. I'm not sure they know. But the parking lot that's adjacent, closest to the park, closest to the pond, we are their stormwater abatement. Everything that comes from that parking lot goes into the park, the pond. There's a tributary that comes into the pond at the far end of the parking lot. They push all their snow there, full of salt. There's one tributary. There's two tributaries now, one that's coming in to the pond from another access point. They use fertilizer. They use a lot of road salt, as I said. They also use pesticide. I'm not sure what kind of pesticides they're using, but, I would hope that we could talk to them and see if they could just stop using the pesticides on all those green spaces right next to the tributary. At least find out what they're using, because, our wells are there. So,
It was 90.1 parts per million.
yeah, I don't have the
guess.
range, though, so I don't know if
Yeah,
that's...
I don't either,
If it's
and it was
high, but I
seven-
think you said it was higher than Byram Lake, but it's okay.
78.1.
Byram Lake was 78, I think, right? Okay. I don't have the range, so I couldn't tell you if it's high, okay. But I don't know what Optum can do about that, aside from a retaining pond. They just have no drainage. It's been us since they built that place. So I think it's something that we should, well, it was something that I talked about over a year ago. The communication about what happened what was going on 133 was poor. I first noticed that job on May 20th, which was a Wednesday. We got a nixle from the town on May 21st, and those nixles sometimes are us saying you need to send out a nixle. So I think when these things happen, the town needs to be more receptive to what's going on, noticing. We have a lot of people out on the road. DPW's out, code is out, parking. Somebody has to say what's going on there, and why are we waiting an entire week to address it with Con Ed? It caused major, major problems here. Road rage problems too, which are terrible. So I think, we need to, and I give credit to the residents that really were trying. I just want to make one statement about the treatment of the I'm sorry, I'm going to go over just slightly. The treatment of the long-term alcoholics that we're talking about. I think it's a noble cause, but I think one of the things that we always talk about is you can go successfully through a rehab program if you're a substance abuser. It's when you come out that's probably the most critical, because even in the best of cases, even in the best of circumstances, you need a tremendous amount of support around you to keep you off of those substances. So we don't have that piece. So you can put people in treatment programs and they can go successfully through it, but we need to work on that, definitely work on that last part. Thank you.
No one else has signed up, sir. Mr. Chilizzi is.
Lou Terlizzi, Mount Kisco. Good evening, Board, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Regarding my unanswered question from the April 18th Village Board meeting regarding the location of cameras, 40 Green Street, never answered, email, otherwise. I was told I'd get an answer. That's April 18th now, so we're in June. Do we have an answer? Concern that there's, if they're a resident or someone seeking help, crime victim, seeking police assistance, could be any time of the day or night, if they're going to be on camera continuously on the property. Should be complete coverage. Do we have an answer for that?
They're there.
Okay,
There's
so
cameras
all
there.
areas covered, the call box, everything, covered, 100%.
They're covered everywhere? We've got all four corners, all four sides of the building? Okay.
Somebody needed help on the property, they'd be on camera. Okay. Thank you. As the village attorney's no longer here, apparently, right? You won't be able to answer questions, but I had the other question from May 4th. Does the newly enforced restriction on public comment to 3 minutes also apply to public hearings? I thought the mayor had said that, the village attorney said it did not apply to public hearings. I know when you had a public hearing, we weren't limited. Does
Correct.
Are we limited or not?
No.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is because I was at a planning board hearing, and I was limited to 3 minutes, so only residents spoke. So I think that's important. Let's see, today's June 1st. Residents can look forward to the doubling of the cost of meter parking since the beginning of the year, and an approximately 14% increase in water fees, plus another 6% in sewer. There's also numerous other fee and rate increases evidently done to keep the tax rate increase artificially under the 2% cap. As the mayor stated on May 4th, after the budget was approved, the village is spending more in this budget than we have ever spent. I think that's something we need to, we keep hearing we got to develop, but maybe we need to cut spending, and maybe we need to prioritize the local businesses to have full occupancy downtown, because I don't think doubling the meter cost is going to help. And I don't think we can expand large-scale development with the water, the fragile and finite waters that we have. A common complaint I hear from both residents and business owners is a lack of responsiveness from our local government. If the village manager fails to answer emails or return calls, then there is potential that small problems can become larger ones. This lack of responsiveness fosters a sense of indifference to residents' concerns. Conversely, Lizette Davis and Ken Fiumare do routinely respond in a timely manner, and for that, I want to publicly thank them. That being said, taxpayers and citizens deserve and have a right to expect a responsive and responsible local government. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no one online, sir.
Anyone else would like to speak this evening?
I just have one thing that I forgot to mention in my board report. When we were at the Memorial Day service, it was made clear to me that the American Legion is in trouble. Its members, the number of members are waning. I'm not sure what we can do, but I would say former Deputy Mayor Teresa Flora knows, I guess the spaghetti dinner is this Wednesday?
I don't think they start until September.
Ah, too bad. Okay. Well, I knew she knew. But so come September, get yourself over there, buy a bottle of wine. It's fun. And anything we can do, if you need a venue, see if it works for you and rent their space. We need to support our veterans. We need to support the American Legion. So please, thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Just a brief comment on Teresa's concern about Optum parking lot, Care Mountain, whatever it was, the Mount Kisco Medical Center. In today's standard, if we were going to build a parking lot like that, there would be what they call vortex filtration systems underneath the parking lot, and unfortunately, there's no retroactive requirements for those. It is something that voluntarily we can try to address. But
Mayor, I think back to the point on the chloride. So the chloride is separate from the sodium. The secondary, the state health department follows the EPA's got a non-mandatory, and that's the secondary maximum contaminant level or limit, right? It is not. There's no health-based limit to chloride. It just, again, it accompanies usually the sodium level. But I think, as we also pointed out, the sodium level in the wells is actually less than the reservoir. So just different pieces at odds there. But again, 78.1 for the reservoir, 90.1 for the wells with respect to chloride. And that secondary MCL is 250 parts per million. So that's it.
Anyone else? If not, is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.